Hello, hello. Sorry, I'm eating. I'm on my way back from Cairo and acupuncture. I stopped at Dunkin' Donuts to get me an avocado toast with bacon because it's 12 o'clock and I haven't eaten anything. I know this is a weird time for me to come in here for a live, but this is the best way for me to give y'all this information. I got some house guests right now and I can't do, my typical live. So I'm going to try to give y'all what I can. Whoever can join, can join. If you got any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. I will be back in here and answer them, but I just wanted to let y'all know what's going on. It's been a lot going on. I haven't been updating my Instagram, but IVF number 4 has started. To be honest, today is Stim's Day 8. Today is Stim's Day 8. So the last time I did a live, um, it was egg retrieval, embryo day 6. So I did say I had one still growing. Actually, he left everything he didn't freeze on day 6. He left in culture, the embryologist. So just to kind of catch you all up from there, um, 2 more embryos kind of reached the blastocyst stage. One of them didn't even have the inner mast cells. Those are the cells that become the baby. So clearly that's not worth freezing. And then the other one was just so fragmented. The quality was just so bad. So nothing got frozen from the day 7. So what I have were the 3 embryos. Pardon me. Hi, 2 people watching. Say something in the comments. I'm driving, so I can only do so much with the comments, but say something in the comments so I know that you're there. I know 2 people are watching right now. So yeah. So basically nothing addition. So the 3 things that I have frozen from my last live, though, that is what I have in the freezer. Now time went by. Hey Shar, hey lady. So time is going by. Um, and I did meet with the RE about my protocol. Asked him why he decided to max me out. Basically, he said because you're 44 and you're diabetic. I said, well, I'm a year and a half from 44, doc. He kept calling me 44. He was like, all right, well, whatever. You're 42 and you're diabetic. Now, he left out the obese part. I think he does that on purpose. Doesn't really talk about my weight, but let's all know that was a factor too. Hey, Heather. Hey, lady. So basically, he's saying that's why he maxed me out. And he said, you know, basically from my last cycle, I had, just to recap, 14 eggs retrieved. 12 of those were mature. Of those 12 mature, 8 fertilized successfully. At the end of the day, I have 3 frozen embryos. He said, age aside, hey, Destin for Greatness, good afternoon. Age aside, I did what he would expect any patient of any age to do, right? So clearly my age was not a factor in as far as me producing eggs through a stem cycle and being responsive and all of that. Could have used your live last night. Oh, I wish I could have done the live sooner, Heather. But I've got house guests. They've been with me for a week. They were supposed to leave today, but they're going to be with me for another week. So I'm doing a live from the car. So this is the best way I can get y'all this information right now. So anyway, he entertained my questions about, why he maxed me out and all of that. He basically said he didn't think I would have got the 14 eggs that I did had he not maxed me out. He was open to making changes, doing a little things different with the protocol. He mentioned a flare protocol, which is more like a poor responders protocol, where they use Lupron to kind of flare. And then he mentioned another protocol where maybe I would start with like a Clomid or a Letrozole, and then ease into the gonadotropins on lower doses or what have you. And Those two protocols have more of a focus on quality of the eggs than they do of quantity. He was totally open to doing that. I think he had like 3 alternatives to my original protocol. Really, after giving it some thought, my last cycle was technically a success, given that I am 42. Granted, I didn't PGS test anything, so I don't know if anything normal came out of that. I did get a day 6 for AB, which I think is going to be the one. If I am going to have one that's normal, I don't need PGT testing to tell me that that's the one to go for. That one was obvious. So at the end of the day, after giving it some thought, he pretty much left it up to me. This is my last and very last egg retrieval. I don't have any more sperm. I'm not buying any more sperm. I'm not doing any more egg retrievals after this. Why rock the boat is what went in my mind. Like, I would kick myself if I opted to go with something different, got not a great outcome out of it, and all because I just wasn't happy with how I felt in that cycle. The results of the cycle were basically a success. So, essentially nothing different has happened. It's Stim's day 8. Started these stems before my cycle came down. My cycle started, let me see. My cycle started on a Saturday. I called them on Monday because they're closed on the weekends. Or I should say they called me back on Monday. I let them know that the cycle started. They called me back on Monday, told me to start the birth control. I started Monday night. I was in the office on Wednesday to talk to the RE about my protocol and what we could do differently. Maybe since my body was so unhappy with the last protocol. Again, my body had not had fertility treatment meds for 4 years. So I just think it was a bit of a shock, right? The birth control and then back on the gonadotropins and stuff. It was just a bit of a shock. And it was a lot more hormone than I was on before. So I just didn't enjoy it physically. We are doing the same exact cycle. So like I said, I was on a birth control from like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I was in the office. Thursday morning, like the very next day after being in there talking to the doctor and deciding to just do the same protocol, they basically called me that morning to say we need to get you in here to do a baseline ultrasound, which I'm actually kind of mad because this place is an hour away. They could have did the ultrasound while I was there on Wednesday, but fine, whatever. I came back in Thursday morning, got my baseline ultrasound. There was concern when I was talking to the RE on Wednesday about me maybe having ovaries full of cysts because I was just coming out of a cycle. That was not the case on Thursday. My ovaries were nice and quiet. Again, I had been on the birth control since Monday. So basically, I come in for the ultrasound. They wanted me to see if I could get my meds. So on my way to that appointment, mind you, they called me 7:30 in the morning, Thursday morning, to ask if I could come in that day. I said I could get in by like 10. On my way in, I was on the phone with the 2 pharmacies. So Freedom Fertility, which is most of my meds, trying to get that refill to see if I can get my meds by Friday. And then the second pharmacy to get the Omnitrope, since everything is pretty much the same. He did say, though, that he had no way of telling whether the Omnitrope affected my outcome. I didn't use the Omnitrope 4 years ago. There wasn't any indication that I really needed the Omnitrope this go around, but he really was just kind of throwing the kitchen sink at everything. Hey, Destined for Greatness, you're working remotely. Rainy day in East Tennessee. Oh, hopefully I don't put you to sleep. But yeah, so he let me know. I don't see any other comments behind Heather. But yeah, I do see a few more people in the live. So yeah, so he said, in one of the alternative protocols, he said I could only do like 5 days of the Omnitrope instead of 12 off my internet. Okay. And I got a call coming in. I don't. That's probably the doctor. I'll call them back. Can you guys hear me? Just say yes and something in the comments if you guys can hear me, because I know the video's back. I just want to make sure, because the phone dropped in. I want to make sure you guys can hear me. Hopefully you can. But yeah, so he said, you know, okay, good, great. Thanks, Shar. Thanks, Destin, for greatness. Yeah, um so he said, you know, we could drop down on the Omnitrope, which would have saved me some money, but it wasn't really about saving money. I just wanted, they have you priming with Pregno and gave the wrong needles. I had to call. Oh my gosh, you had the big needles. You should have got 2 sets of needles with the Pregno, the mixing needle and the other needle. Hey Gail, hey lady, how you doing? Yeah, so I've never heard about priming with HCG. Oh, actually, maybe. I think because HCG does, you know, giving your body a little HCG can kind of put your body in the baby making mood. So yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Ooh. Because Pregno is that's an intramuscular, so that is a bigger needle. Oh my gosh! So did they give you like what, the sub Q needles for the Pregno instead of the I got some Dunkin' Donuts today, y'all know. I don't know. I took some insulin. Don't trip. I had to because the Omnitrope. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they got this is like some new donut. It's called butter cookie or something. I don't know. It sounded good, y'all. Sub Q with the Pregno? That's interesting. I always thought Pregno was intramuscular. Hmm. There's a filling in there. I didn't really, but I bit the dough side. But yeah, so I don't know. We just went with the same exact thing. So another 1,400 on my meds, 1,200 on the Omnitrope, and the other 200 or 140 ish on my other meds, since those are on copay. So yeah, so basically I started Stims on that Friday. So my last birth control pill was Wednesday night, essentially. And then I started meds on Friday afternoon when my meds came in. So I was able to take my meds around 2:15 ish. Right. So I guess it's technically Stims day 8. I guess you could say 7.5, since I started the meds in the afternoon instead of the morning. Either way, it's Stims day 8. So started on Friday. Monday, I was in for my first monitoring. So that was Stims day 4. My estradiol that day was 177, which we're already off to a great start. So I got the blood work done, and then I went in for the ultrasound. The follicles were present because, mind you, on Thursday, ovaries were nice and quiet, right? So now on Monday, I already had follicles at 9, right? Measuring at 9. So, and then my estradiol came back that day at 177. So that was Stims day 4. I remind you, my last cycle, Stims day 5, I had nothing measurable, and my estradiol was 77. So I do feel a difference this cycle. I think having gone through the last cycle last month, my body is a bit more used to these meds, even at this dosage. So I am feeling a lot better physically on this protocol, and my body is responding in kind, right? So my lining, of course, was like 8 on Monday because, well, my cycle had started and I was on the birth control. Hey, Miss Lex. And so, of course, the cycle did not come down after being on the birth control for a couple of days. It still has not come down, mind you. It being Stim's day 8, it still has not come down. I felt like it was going to. I haven't got a little crampy, but I may have had a little slight spotting, but nothing. And so I was in yesterday for monitoring. My lining was at 13. He didn't say whether it was trilaminar or not. My estradiol did come back at 499 for Stim's day 6. Wait, Stim's day 7? Oh God, wait. So 4 was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yeah, Stim's day 7. My estradiol came back at 499. Hey, Miss Lex, just talking about my cycle, just catching up. I gotta pee, so I want to get through this, and I have house guests, so that's why I'm not like in the house doing the live, and I'm doing the live in the car. So can't do the live like I usually do. Definitely won't be able to do the nice long ones that I'm typically doing. So I'm just trying to get y'all this information. I know I gotta pee, and I'm like drinking and eating sugar, but I'm hungry, y'all. I'm hungry. Like, life has been so super crazy. Oh my God, Thanksgiving happened. My stove died. I did get my car back. I'm in my car. So I did get my car back. They had my car for like 3.5 weeks. So I do have that back. I had a plumbing issue. I had to replace the main line from the meter to my house. Very expensive. Very expensive. There's a lot going on. I got my friend and her kids staying with me. They've been with me for a week now. They're going to be with me for another week. Give who a hug? Oh, hold up. I have a coworker got pregnant naturally at 42 with twins, no birth abnormalities. Oh my goodness, that's awesome. You know, when you're older, you're more likely to drop more eggs. Were they identical twins or fraternal? Gave her a hug yesterday and told her that she inspired me. Absolutely. I wish I had somebody to try with. I wish I could find the Gono F if I was them at a cheaper price. MDR is saying 1100. Doing a mini cycle. Heather, are you on any forums? Maybe you can ask people if they have any medication sitting in their refrigerator expiring. Maybe they're willing to just either sell it to you at a discount price or send it to you for just the cost of shipping. Not the store. Yes, on Thanksgiving Day. Fortunately, I cooked all my food, but it died Thanksgiving Day. Child, I was just in there crying because I can't catch a break around here. Mm-hmm. Microwave and the stove. Nope. I gotta replace the whole kitchen. My refrigerator is already groaning, so I gotta replace the whole kitchen. She told me that you all said call my GYN and get a pre-approval to see if I already check my eggs. Uh-huh. Yeah, just get the fertility workup done and see where you are. That'll at least give you a gauge on timeline. You know what I mean? There's a comment here, Miss Lex, that I cannot read. Oh, here we go. I hope Jaden's behaving for the house guest. Child, that's a whole other situation because she's got kids. She's got a 5-year-old and an 18-month-old, and they are the 5-year-old and Jaden. She's my friend. They play together, but it's a whole situation. I don't want to bad talk nobody and their kids. I'm not trying to bad talk her. It's a challenging situation. I'm gonna put it that way. It's a challenging situation. We're working through it. Kids will be kids, but it ain't easy. It ain't easy. Yeah. The stove died in rare form with sparks and everything. Even though the stove died, I'm blessed my house didn't catch fire. I have a burn mark on the wall behind the stove. It's a whole situation. It's a whole situation with the stove. Um, but I am blessed. It could have been a much worse situation, considering the burn mark on the wall behind the stove, and the sparks that flew when it eventually died. Right. But all of that was just on Thanksgiving Day. It had already been a trying week with me out here trying to pressure wash my pathway and my driveway, and my pressure washer not working. That was starting Monday of Thanksgiving week. Like, I was off all of Thanksgiving week. And then Tuesday, the guy that owns the house next to me found the leak, which we thought was irrigation leak, like a sprinkler head or something like that. Ended up being the main line, the main water line to my house. The tree root had poked a hole in it. So I had to get 3 estimates out here. Well, I got the county out here because the leak is actually in the easement. So I thought maybe the county would deal with it, but they were like, nope, it's on this side of the meter. Of course, my water bill doubled from the previous month. I did notice that before the leak was found, but I didn't know what was exactly was going on. I had a bunch of other stuff going on, so I didn't really focus on it. But then he found this leak that was basically leaching water into the street. And so he found that. So I got 3 plumbers to come out here and give me estimates for, because the guy at the county said it'd probably just be better to just run a new line. Because the way they ran this main line to the house is like coming across the driveway, up under an oak tree, under all those roots and stuff. It really didn't make sense to fix that leak for another root to poke a hole somewhere else in the same line, right? So it was just easier if I just ran. It's more of a permanent solution if I just ran a whole new line. Of course, that's like double the price or triple the price of like fixing it, but it's a permanent fix instead of having to fix it and then fix it again and then fix it again and then fix it again. So, yeah. She said the twins are in different sex. They're fraternal. Currently, they're still in. Oh, okay. Yeah. Older women tend to drop multiple eggs when they ovulate. So it's not uncommon for someone 42 to end up with twins. And what's crazy is her first baby she went to the foster care system with and is about to adopt the child and got pregnant naturally by surprise. Oh, well, that happens to a lot of people. I think it's like the stress the stress or the pressure they put on themselves to get pregnant. Naturally, they relax in that, and then the body responds in kind, and then they end up getting pregnant naturally. Have a Facebook, but I may need to find some forums. Yep. Or Heather, are you on Instagram? There's a lot of women on Instagram. If you got other TTC sisters that you follow on Instagram, you might be able to make a post or something like that. Some of the other forums, if you're, I don't know, Heather, if you're using a cryobank or not. If the cryobank has like a forum or a group, you might be able to find something there. I've learned to just say we parent differently. Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll do that. A fertility workup to see my timeline. Okay, ma'am. Not the sizzling stove. Yes, it sparked. All I did was touch it. Like, thank goodness I was using a broom to reach for the cord to unplug the stove because my stove is electric. I moved it just a tad bit, and it literally, like, where it burned the wall, there was a dark mark on the back of the stove. It sparked out of that. And thank goodness I was not like leaning down with my head. It could have sparked like onto my head. We could have had a whole Michael Jackson situation going on. Don't nobody need that. But it freaked me out, and all I could do was just cry. Jaden was like kind of like right there, kind of in the way, but not really in the way. But like there was a series of events that led to me pulling the stove away from the wall where I found this burn because I didn't know. And what's crazy is that day there was something that sounded like that, like it was like a boom, and like it felt like the house shook, like maybe like something hit the house. But that happens here in Florida, like when the shuttles come back in or whatever, you get those sonic booms. But it wasn't a sonic boom because you usually hear two of them. But those will shake the house, right? So it wasn't that, it was something else. I didn't know what it was. That's probably what initially burnt the wall, is that whatever happened with the stove then, and that was while I was still cooking. So I to be honest, I don't know when the burn got there. I just know there was a burn on the wall, there's a burn on the back of the stove, and the moment I touched the cord to move to unplug it, it sparked, and the stove just completely died at that point while still plugged in. So that boom may have been something starting, right? Even though the stove was kind of still working, but then not working, or what have you. I don't know. I just feel really blessed that my house didn't burn down. You know what I mean? Hopefully they'll also give me a BMI requirement because my orthopedic surgeon did. I know I have new goals to work on now. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Jaden is the can't get a house. He will show them what's up. I mean, this her little girl is older by a couple of years, and I want to say they're not horrible, but I will say the daughter is the root of the issues that we're having with them being guests, right? All the problems we're having, they start with the daughter. So, I mean, I'm not gonna say they start complete with the daughter. I can't blame everything on the daughter because some of it is parenting style and all of that. We all parent differently, can't tell people how to raise their kids and all of that. I am very stern in my discipline, but I have an aversion to whooping other people's kids, so I'm not going to hit, her children, right? Whether she does that or not, that's they're not my kids, right? So I'm not going to whoop anybody else's kids. And like I said, I've been an auntie since I was 7, and I've never whooped any of my nieces or nephews. They're not my kids, right? So I have an issue with using the rod in that way with kids that don't belong to me. So I do have a method. That method has worked for all my nieces and nephews. They know auntie does not play. All that they get away with their moms and or dads or whatever, that don't work over here with Auntie Mika. So no. So I bring a lot of that, like when I babysit other people's kids and stuff like that, and all of that with her kids as well. I do use timeout. I'm very stern, and my form of timeout, it does work. I use a combination of timeout and then taking things and stuff like that. But her daughter is 5 going on 35. Lots of sass, and I don't mind sass. I can deal with that. Like, my feelings are not going to be hurt because a 5-year-old said they hate me or whatever, so but I really, it's about realizing who's the adult in the situation and who's the child, and responding in kind. So I'm doing my best. The problem is that I'm stressed out with work. I'm going through IVF. I'm hopped up on hormones. Because of the IVF appointments, I had not been able to get acupuncture or chiro since October. And like with a combination of like vacation, holiday, and IVF, I've not been able to get in there. And to be quite honest, acupuncture keeps my mood stable. And I need acupuncture at least every 2 weeks in order to keep my mood stable. And I have not been to acupuncture. Today was my first day in acupuncture since October. So I was already teetering on emotional instability, you know what I mean? Or instability. And all these other things are going on in life. I feel like my money is doing this away from me, like just flying away with all these things that are happening with the plumbing, with the electrical, with everything. And there are still things that I still need to get done at the house that costs money. And so I'm feeling that pressure as well. And, I'm also feeling the emotional pressure of, um, you know, a friend, you know, having friends that are going through health issues, and then this particular friend, or they're going through a housing issue, that which is why they're staying with me. They're kind of in between homes right now. So you know, I'm trying to do my best to be a good friend, to help where I can. Oh, hold on a second. Yes.
Sweetie, how you doing?
All right.
Are you the homeowner?
Of this house over here, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I know, because they're all split.
They're twins. All the houses are twins in the subdivision.
Yeah. I've done this roof over here. Well, it's a little bit more down, but you'll see it on this street. And this house I just got approved yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah. So
my roof was done in 2019. So
that's what I was gonna ask you, because I couldn't see the other side.
Yeah, they did both sides. So everything was done in 2019. Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. It's just you guys are underneath trees, and it just gets stingy. No problem. Thank you, sweetie.
All right.
Yep. You take care. Okay?
All right. You do the same. Thank you. Yeah. I'm telling you, man. They always try to solicit. Oh, yes, you have IG. All right, Heather. Yeah. If you've got other TTC sisters out there, especially if they're going through cycles, or if they've been through cycles recently, they might have some meds in their refrigerator. I'll let you know if I have any left over from this cycle, because like I said, I'm done, and I don't have any more refills left, because I'm using my refills on this cycle. But if I have any follistim left, which I may not, because I got pretty close. I may not have any left. Right now I have one unopened cartridge that I will probably have to use. But reach out on make a post on IG and see if anybody out there has any mess. Throw the whole kitchen away. Don't mess with fireheads. Absolutely. Absolutely. I've been holding out on the appliances because I wanted to get my cabinets and stuff done. So I've been holding out with that, but my appliances are just not going to make it to when I'm ready to do the cabinets. So I'm just going to have to get the appliances. Yeah, MJ with the Pepsi commercial. Yes. We don't need none of that going on. Yeah, we get sonic booms a lot, like a transformer blowing. Yes, yes, because you know SpaceX is doing all those. They just did a launch yesterday, I think. Yeah, I did that when I was a baby. My daddy said I was behind him and being messy and pour hot grease on my hand. Oh my gosh, and my foot, and I still had a burn mark. Yeah, ooh, that's crazy. I'm glad to hear everything's okay with you and your son. Thank you. Hey Tanya, hey. How are you? I'm trying to make it, girl. I'm trying to make it. Thanks so much. Anything will help. Yes. Yes. And you'll be surprised how generous a lot of us ladies out here who have leftover medicine, because a lot of us are just, you know, we hit our deductibles, especially if insurance is paying, and we just get the meds while it's free, but then don't have another cycle. Like we do it just in case, right? And then we don't have another cycle, and so the meds are just sitting there. You know what I mean? So all it takes is to ask. I mean, I would rather give away medicine than let it just sit there and expire. It's way too expensive, and people are spending a ton of money doing this. You know? So yeah, all right. Somebody remind me, what the heck was I talking about before that lady walked up to my car? Talking about, can we do your roof? My roof was done in 2019, honey. I don't need nobody to do my roof. Yes. Yes. Thank you, Heather. God definitely did cover, because Lord only knows what could have happened. And with the burn on the wall, that could have easily been a fire, you know? So, but yeah. So I don't, you know, everybody's trying to do the best. We all trying to do the best we can out here, you know? And so I feel bad, you know, for my friend, because she feels bad about, you know, the stuff that's going on in the house, and she feels like they're like the worst house guests ever. And it's not so much that they're like the worst house guests ever. It's not horrible. And to be quite honest, you know, my niece has been gone. You know, she passed away. It's been 2 years. And it was 2 years that she had moved out before she had passed away. So it's been 4 years since anybody's lived in the house with me. I kind of miss like the company, or at least having another adult to talk to in the house or to watch TV with, and all that kind of stuff. The stuff with the kids is a little extra I could do without, but that is what it is. Kids are going to be kids. I can't get mad at a kid for being a kid. You know what I mean? So, but I am on edge emotionally, especially with these hormones and stuff. And so it is a little hard to maintain my cool. I do get frustrated, but I've also had a lot of practice with being frustrated with people at work and maintaining my cool. And she's just like, I don't understand how you can just stay cool. Like, I would just freak out and flip out. And I'm like, I've had a lot of practice with maintaining my cool in tough situations, especially at work. If I can do it at work, I can do it at home, you know? So I try to, I always try to, especially when dealing with like other people, I always try to think first before I say what's out of my mouth. I have a hard time pulling my face though. So when I'm unhappy, you can usually read that on my face. But um, I can pull my words. I've worked very hard at pulling my words, because what I get very honestly from my mother is a sharp tongue. I got a quick wit and a sharp tongue, and that is a dangerous combination. So I have learned to condition myself to not speak off the quick wit, and to really think about what I say before I say it. Because if I say the first thing that comes to mind, it's not going to be great. Right? It's just not going to be great. Um, Hi, Leah Boo. Am I using the same donor? Yes. Yes, I am using the same donor. Hey, Phoebe. Hey, lady. Yeah. So, yeah. So I got a lot going on. I am thankful to be off today. I had acupuncture. I had chiro. I'm also dealing with some serious like carpal tunnel pain in both hands. It has been getting worse and worse and worse. Um, Talking with the chiro today and explaining like what I've been experiencing, how I get relief from pain, and all of that. He is thinking that it might not necessarily be 100% carpal tunnel. It might be some other syndrome that I needed him to repeat, but he left before I got out of acupuncture, so I will have to get that from him next week. But basically what he's saying is it's radiating somewhere here in my shoulders, and he said that's an easier thing to fix. You fix this, it fixes this. So I have not had chiro since October as well. Stress also plays a role in it. And it is worse when I am laying down, like sitting up like this. Right now, I just have numbness. These fingers here are just numb. They just seem to be numb all the time. I am butterfingers all the time, dropping stuff because I can feel them, but barely, right? Cold is super cold, warm is not so warm, all that great stuff, but it's just these 6 fingers. He did something today where he asked me to like do this, and then he told me to hold it there while he tried to pull this apart, and he only did it on this hand. He didn't do it on this hand, but I did that, and he pulled my fingers right apart, and I was like, oh. And then he did some adjusting or whatever in there, had me do it again, and I was able to hold the fingers. So the chiropractors are like magic, man. If you ain't got one, get you one. I'm trying to tell you. And when I explained everything to him, he said, you're definitely in the right place. You go to a hand specialist, they're just going to tell you you need carpal tunnel surgery. And he said, there's a lot more things that we can do before going there, and being that extreme. So I'm happy that I go to the chiropractor, and the way that I get relief when the pain does radiate is I can put my arm like over the couch arm, and like it's like spaces something out in the shoulder, and I get like immediate relief and circulation in my hand, and the pain stops. And so he says, okay, you telling me that says it's something else. And that's when he mentioned that syndrome, and he said this is a bigger, I guess, a bigger area or something to work with, but and it makes it easier to fix. So um and even just laying on the table face down with my arms down while he's like adjusting my back, I felt relief in my hands, right? Just being in that position. So there's definitely something there. And I've been thinking that for a while. I'm just glad I was able to get in. I'll just put it that way. But the acupuncturist did put some needles like between all my toes, like literally between every toe and both feet. And she said those extra needles were about the carpal tunnel and stuff. And she put a needle here on both arms, and then some needles here, of course, in my hands. And so hopefully that I don't always feel relief from that, but if it's doing something, great. I'm also taking other anti-inflammatory things. I'm taking tart cherry to help with like the inflammation and the swelling, like in my fingers and stuff. They feel swollen. Maybe they're not really swollen, but they feel swollen, you know? Anyway, I'm going through a whole lot over here. And I knew doing IVF number 4 in this time frame was just going to be hell. It's hell with work. It's hell logistically, um, because I have literally 4 more days of work and then I'm off for the rest of the year. So everybody's trying to get everything from me in this time frame, and then trying to go through an egg retrieval with the unpredictability of all the scheduling and everything. And it's just a mess. It's a mess, and I'm overwhelmed. I am completely overwhelmed, which also contributes to this because stress will contribute to this as well. So it's glad I was able to catch a little of the live. We'll have to watch the replay. Have to go back to work. All right. All right, Tanya. Thanks. Thanks, lady, for coming in. So yeah. That's where we are. I do go back. So getting back to IVF number 4, I do go back in tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday. So I go back in tomorrow for another monitoring. When I was in yesterday, the doctor said he didn't think I'd probably be ready to trigger until Monday, which is more like a Wednesday egg retrieval. I was hoping I'd be ready tomorrow um, for like a Monday, or tomorrow or Sunday for like a Monday or Tuesday egg retrieval. Pardon me. But when I was in yesterday, my largest follicles were only like 13 going on 14. So I'm not really getting the 2 millimeter a day growth. But that's typical, right? Of me. My follicles do tend to grow a little slower. So that is what it is. So I'll go in tomorrow. I'll probably have to go in on Monday as well. Um, just so they can validate. Because let's just say I was 13 going on 14, 15, 17, 19. That's 3 more days, right? So that was what, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 19 going on 20 definitely puts me in trigger range. He said they like to see 20. I don't know. I mean, when I was going through this before, they like to get you to 17. They might go a little bit past 17, but I don't know. But also, my follicles have a tendency to like buck up towards the end. I don't think I will stem for 13 days like I did last cycle. I think it will be less days of stem. But I don't know. I just I just need to know what's going on so that I can round up somebody to go with me. You know what I mean? Because somebody's got to drop me back. You know, so that's the hardest part of this, is trying to figure out who can drop me back home. My sitter did it last time. She is willing to do that again, but it has to be during the week, but not Friday. So as long as I can get this egg retrieval done before Friday, um, we should be in good shape. So And I'm just thankful this is the last go round, because I'm so outdone. I'm so outdone with trying to schedule all of this clinic being an hour away, those hour-long drives. Like, the scheduling has been so logistically horrible. I have literally been on the table with Wanda up my hoo-ha on a meeting with a customer. Now, y'all tell me, would y'all be doing that kind of multitasking? I am multitasking to the nth degree. Taking meetings on my way there, taking meetings on my way back, taking meetings on the table. Because I got to take the meeting, and I can't cancel it, but I got to go to the appointment. I can't cancel the appointment. So, it's working out, but it ain't easy. It is not easy by any stretch of the imagination. So I will be glad to be done with it. So I'm glad somebody got to join. I was afraid nobody would get to join because it is Friday and I know everybody works, and I usually do these on the weekends. Um, but I'm glad you guys got to be here. I wanted to let you know because I have not been updating my Instagram. And so you guys had no idea that I even started IVF number 4. And this got started really, really quickly. The other thing I'm trying to get done is the water sono in preparation for transfer. I wanted to see if I could get that done by the end of this year. But they want me to call them when I bleed after the retrieval, but I do not bleed until 2 weeks after. I've always bled 2 weeks after. And they were like, oh, really? That's funny. It should be more like 5 days after. And I was like, no, it's always been 2 weeks after. So I don't know about that 5-day business. So that's putting it very close to New Year's. Plus my sitter is going to be, I'm not going to have a sitter at all. And I'm not even sure if they're going to be around. There's a FedEx truck here. I wonder where they're going. I didn't order anything. We'll see if they come to my house. I can't wait for you to get that baby. Oh, thank you. It'll be all worth it. You're a strong woman. I see. That's a whole lot of work. Yeah. Thanks. Oh, do you want this to be my last baby? Oh, yes. Yes. I mean, would I mind having more kids? No, but I need a partner. I don't necessarily want, yeah, he's not coming to my house. He's going to the neighbor's house. Good. Because I didn't order anything. So I wanted to know, why is FedEx coming to my house? Unless somebody sent me a gift. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, the plan when I went into this was always wanting a sibling. Who I'm praying so hard to not get twins out of this situation. Like, I don't think I can handle that. But if God sees fit, he must understand that I can handle it in some kind of way, and we'll have to work it out. But I ain't looking for that. Not looking for that at all. But yeah, this would essentially be my last baby. I mean, I'm 42. I'll be 43 next year. And you know, it does not financially make sense for me to go donor egg route at this point, already having a child. Financially, it doesn't make sense for me to spend that kind of money. The goal was to become a mom. That goal's been accomplished. This part is cake, right? But I would kick myself if I didn't try to have a sibling. And I'm already a year late in making the attempt, right? Because I was supposed to be doing this last year. So last year was just way too stressful. I'm glad I didn't even try last year. This year has been more stress than I expected. But it's kind of like, it should get off the pot, Tamika, because what you gonna do? So I'm just trying to see. And I knew I only had really 2 egg retrievals in me, emotionally. And so if I can't get it done with 2 egg retrievals, then it's not meant to be. Now, that being said, if I were to, let's say, meet someone and we're going to make a go at this for like life, and he wanted to have a kid Would I be willing to have a kid at say like 45, 46? I would, but not with my money. I'll extend my nice fertility insurance, but he gonna have to bring his own money if he wants that. I done paid for 4 IVFs. You know, at this point, I'm not spending any more money. So we can try naturally, since I do have one open tube. You know what I mean? I'll take my supplements and we can try naturally or whatever for a little bit. But he gonna have to bring his own money to the situation. I'm not. No. Mm-mm. I might be willing to go through it, but I mean, given my egg quality at 38 and then at 42, the odds of me being able to use my own eggs at 45, slim to none. 45, 46, very slim to none. So we talking another 2 to 3 years from now. Mm-mm. I'm the hard. It was. Oh, this. Hey y'all, sorry about that. The clinic called to give me my time to come in. Fortunately, I don't have to get any blood work because they want me to come in at 8:30 in the morning tomorrow for this ultrasound. So I will have no idea what my estradiol will be tomorrow, but I'm not ready to trigger anyway. So there's another opportunity to do blood work before egg retrieval. Are you guys still there? Well, it looks like you guys are still there. I'm sorry about the phone cutting out, but hopefully you guys are there. Somebody say something if you're still there. Um, but yeah, 8:30 tomorrow morning, which means I have to leave here by 7:30 to get there on time. Whew. But yeah, so hopefully, all right, good, good. You guys are still here. Thank you, Heather. Thank you, Phoebe. Yeah, these comments come in so delayed. But yeah, so yeah, so that is where we are. So the good news is I don't have to get that blood work. Thanks, Leah Boo. I don't have to get that blood work because that I would have to go like so out of the way to get that blood work, and they're not going to be open that time of morning anyway. So yeah. So is it? I mean, as you can see, my phone's popping. Y'all, my phone is popping. And even though I'm off today, I still got some work to do. And I was off last Friday, and I had work to do. And I'm off next Friday, and I'll probably be working next Friday too. And just to show y'all how well my workaholic recovery is going, I agreed yesterday to work um on December 30th during my 2 week vacation. So apparently my workaholic recovery is not going very well. It ain't even like I'm getting paid extra for it. I'm not. But I will get my PTO time back. So But they're changing the policy anyway to thanks Destin for greatness. They're changing the PTO policy anyway to an unlimited vacation. They're trying to be like Google or whatever, but I don't know. I'm gonna still make sure I get all my weeks. They can fool somebody else in that whole unlimited vacation mess. I'm gonna make sure I get my time in because I don't leave money on the table. Mm-mm. So especially now, I got too much stuff I got to pay for. I can't afford to leave any money on the table. But yeah, so that's what's been going on, y'all. So y'all can see it's been popping around here. It's been really hard to like get in. I'm exhausted all the time, and despite all these supplements, I'm in pain all the time thanks to my hands, and I am borderline emotionally unstable. So I don't know how much worse it can be. I don't know how much worse it can be, but it's just been a lot. It's just been a lot going on, and I wanted to get y'all since I'm so behind in editing all my videos, and I know you guys have been like waiting for this whole baby number 2 process. So at the very least, I am filming through it all. So eventually, you guys will get the play-by-play if you care to watch it with everything and all those extra details. But I wanted to at least try to keep y'all a little bit updated. Oh, and now my phone is dying. No. Oh my God.
Visit today. Go to Village Medical.
Hey, all right. Sorry, my phone died. Oh my God. What kind of day is it? My phone died. Have you been doing keto for retrieval? I had a few setbacks this week. No, I've not been doing any keto. Y'all see me? You ain't see me eating these Dunkin' Donuts? Ain't nothing keto about this Dunkin' Donuts, okay? No keto. Keto, it didn't work. It didn't work. I tried keto. I got some videos on that too. Y'all ain't seen them. But it didn't work. It didn't work. It didn't work. It didn't work. So I don't like keto anyway because I like fruit too much. Hi Rajiv, how are you? But yeah, so no keto. Hopefully y'all can hear me. Sorry. So I was like, doggone it. I just get back on and then my phone died. But I'm glad it died after I got the call from the fertility clinic. So I at least know what time I gotta be in tomorrow. So but yeah, it's been a lot. It's just been a lot. And I'm not sleeping well and all of that. So do you ladies have any questions for me in this cycle? Or about your own cycle? No, not pregnant yet. Working on it. Working on it. Relative, working on it. So, hopefully I'll get pregnant next year. We're just trying to get some embryos to get pregnant with first. I'm wearing my IVF mom shirt, even though you can't read it. I'm looking rough, y'all, because life is rough. Life is rough. Oh man, y'all still there? Heather, Destined for Greatness, Leah Boo, Phoebe, y'all still with me? It's torn. No, my shirt's not torn. It's worn. It's not torn. It's worn, and I wear it a lot. This is like part of my uniform. I'll probably wear this shirt at least once a week. Any tips for increased quality? I'm taking all the supplements. Aside from the supplements, I would say increase blood flow to the uterine area. So like walking, low impact exercise, anything that's going to get, a nice blood flow to the area. That's about all you can do. I mean, you can only do so much with egg quality, right? Because a lot of quality is just age based, and you can't do anything about how old they are. So if you're all on the supplements, and I will say my results, I think, and here's a UPS truck. They're not stopping here. They're going somewhere else. First FedEx, and now UPS. I would say though, thanks, Phoebe. I would say though that I attribute my results a lot to the supplements, right? Because I haven't been the most consistent with the supplements, but I've been essentially taking the supplements since last year in preparation for this. So definitely having your vitamin D in the right place, right? Which is at least at 40, between 40 and 50, getting your vitamin D there. Having a good like immune system. So as long as you're taking a good woman's probiotic, and I say a women's probiotic because it's got the good stuff in there for the vaginal and uterine health. A regular probiotic just focuses on your digestion, so you want a women's probiotic to help keep everything balanced. There, that goes a long way, especially with getting pregnant, right? I don't know that it helps that much with egg retrieval, but the probiotic definitely helps. I think, anyway. I'm not a medical professional. I haven't done any studies or anything, but I think it goes a long way to making sure like your microbiome is in a good place for getting pregnant. But I think the supplements definitely make a big deal. Making sure your vitamin B, your B vitamins are good, and you take the prenatal to make sure all your nutrients are there and balanced. And actually I think my iron is in a better place, which might also be helping me this round, right? My iron was still a little in the last round. I've doubled up on my iron supplement, so I'm now taking that morning and night instead of just morning. The prenatal has some iron in it too, but I was taking an additional supplement. I've always been low iron my whole life. So, but if you need blood flow, you also need blood to flow, right? So the iron goes a long way. I was partially like anemic. I've always been borderline anemic. So taking the iron goes a long way for me. But it's just about knowing what your body needs, what it's missing. So there are the fertility supplements, but you also want to make sure, you know, your body has what it needs in general. So like if you don't have anyone say running like a metabolic panel or something like that to make sure like everything is good, you know, get a CBC. Like you can just go to your general practitioner, you know what I mean, your family doctor, and just have them run a CBC and a metabolic panel, preferably with urine, to make sure everything is in good working order. Your kidneys, your liver, all of that works together. If everything is in good working order, you know what I mean, your eggs are going to be in a better place. You want your body to be kind of like this well-oiled machine. Now, I have chronic illnesses, right? I got hypertension, I got insulin resistance, and I'm managing, you know, all of that. And so when you go through this process and all those hormones, that starts messing with your body's chemistry. And you just want to make sure you're good going in. You want to make sure you're good while you're in it and that you're good coming out of it. You know, you want to stay hydrated, right? Hydration goes a long way. Right, keep drinking all that water and stuff, and staying hydrated and stuff. And people tell you all the time to relax, relax, relax. Stress does not help this situation. Unfortunately, I'm a big ball of stress, but I also have lived a life of high stress. So I'm a bit more accustomed, you know. I don't know if someone going through this process with my level of stress would perform as well, right? Because I have had a lifelong history of training to working under stress. I'm to the point where I need a fair amount of chaos to feel normal in my life, right? I don't recommend it, but it's what I need to feel at least a bit normal is a little bit of chaos. Because when things are going well, I feel uneasy, if that makes sense. And it's not a good thing. That I feel uneasy that everything is running as it should, right? And I wish it wasn't that way for me, but it is. So, but all those things go a long way. Does it increase your quality? No, but it helps your body operate optimally during this process to take care of those things as well. So if you have something that relieves stress, like I've got an Oculus, right? And I like to play Beat Saber. And Beat Saber is active, so I get to sweat. I'm moving, so that's also helping with like circulation and with blood flow. And also the releasing of endorphins, so it helps with my stress. You know, so if you got something that you like to do, whether that's dancing or, you know, whatever, just remember to do those things while you go through this process. Don't be, you know, too what am I trying to say, like engulfed in it. Like I don't recommend being swallowed up by this process, like I was. I mean, 4 years ago that I ate, lived, and breathed TTC. I don't recommend it. I mean, it made me quite knowledgeable, right? Because I've watched so many things and all of that, but I just don't recommend it because the reality is that this can be a very long journey and it is draining in so many different ways. And you just you forget who you were before you started. You know what I mean? And you don't want to forget who you were, you know? So don't forget to do things that remind you who you were before you started TTC. That that will go a very long way. It's probably the best advice I can give for anybody getting into this. Go to the movie, plan your vacation. Don't plan TTC. Don't plan your life around TTC. Plan TTC around your life. You know, I refrain from vacations. Well, I might be doing this. I might be doing this cycle, or I might be pregnant by then. So I'm not going to schedule this trip. Schedule the trip and get the insurance. If you're pregnant and can't go, the insurance will reimburse you your money. You know what I'm saying? In the event that you don't get pregnant, at least you still got a trip to go on. You know what I'm saying? So it's just schedule TTC around your life, not your life around TTC. You know, it's probably the best advice. That's why, you know, even though work is hectic, um, and it's not easy to logistically schedule all these appointments or shift things around, or I'm multitasking, I'm taking meetings in the car while I'm driving, you know, an hour away or an hour back, and all of that. That's me scheduling TTC around my life, which includes work, right? Um, if you can, you know, and you can get paid for it or you can afford it, it might even be best to just be like, I'm going to go on FMLA for the next 2-3 weeks, you know, to get through IVF if you're doing IVF, right? Because if you got the time for that and your job will pay you to be on FMLA, that's probably the best way to go through IVF, is to be on FMLA for it. It's a lot less stress when you got to go to these appointments where they could honestly, you know, you can go in and then they'll call you and be like, or they'll say, all right, let's see you back here tomorrow. You know, you can't plan around these appointments. It's really hard. Like, I'm trying my best based on what I know. I'm trying to avoid meetings during certain times of the day, customer meetings, you know, because I don't like having to say, oh, I got to go in for a doctor's appointment. Can we reschedule this appointment? Because it's hard to schedule these meetings to begin with. So I'm trying to sort of block off my time so I don't have to do that. But in the end, you know, you can't control it, you know. So hope that helps, Heather. I mean, if you're already on all the supplements, you're doing that right. The only thing I can say is just make sure they're good, nice, good, high quality supplements. Again, not all supplements are created equal. Cheaper does not necessarily mean better. More expensive does not necessarily mean better. Just get like a trusted brand. And for me, I know my supplements are pretty expensive. They're not the most expensive, but they're pretty expensive. But it's a trusted brand for me. And I'm like, you know, you got to go hard or go home. I'm paying all this money for IVF. No need to skimp on the supplements, you know, if I'm going to take them, you know. But, you know, it's also important to be cost conscious. Not everybody can afford all the supplements and acupuncture and chiro and this and that and this and that and pay for meds and these treatments, right? So you do the best you can, you know. Um, I I feel like the supplements help. Not every doctor believes in that, you know. I feel like acupuncture helps at least keep me mildly sane, whether the doctor believes in that or not. So, you know, you just never know. Luckily, my boss is a huge supporter. I work from home, so I can take my laptop and work anywhere. She's allowed me to be off of my appointments. Very good. Very good. That is a blessing. Flexible work schedules. Flexible work schedules are a blessing. And that's the only reason that I can logistically make this stuff happen, is because the work schedule is flexible. I can work from virtually anywhere, even if there isn't like Wi-Fi. I can use the hotspot on my phone. I can take meetings from anywhere. As long as I don't have to stare at the screen, I can take meetings while I'm driving, you know, because I can think about what I'm doing and drive at the same time. My hands are like killing me. So, so true. Cannot afford the acupuncture on top of the IVF payments. Yeah, I mean, you do what you can do, right? Now, I can afford the acupuncture. However, scheduling has not allowed me to do acupuncture during any of this. Like, this is the first time I'm getting acupuncture during treatment, right? And probably not as important during egg retrieval as it is for like a transfer, if you're going to do it. But I've also been doing acupuncture like every week, you know. And I've expressed I haven't been the most happy with my fertility acupuncture.
treatments, but she has been very good at keeping like my stress levels down and all of that. And so I went in there today, and she was really focused on like the carpal tunnel stuff. I had to ask her for the point up here for my stress, and I was like, "Did you put one up here?" And she said, "No, I didn't. Do you want me to do one?" Absolutely, honey. I'm stressed. You need to do that every time I come in here. I don't want to hear nothing else. So I do feel a lot better emotionally, having gotten that point, and I think I got a permanent like dimple up here from always getting that point every week, and I don't mind it at all, you know. But because it that's what keeps me sane, you know. That is what is keeping me sane um through this, and it ain't easy, man. It ain't easy. Everything is not easy peasy lemon squeezy. You know what I mean? So, or mac and cheesy, as some other characters say, easy peasy mac and cheesy. So, it is what it is. It is what it is. So you just do the best you can. You know, women are out here going through these treatments with no supplements, no acupuncture. You know what I mean? And you know, managing to have success. And every woman is going to be different. But you know, you do what you can do. I mean, you know, supplements are good. I would rather I'd probably rather no supplements and spending the money on something else than getting a bunch of cheap supplements, right? So that's why, like, when I say if you can't afford all the supplements, then focus on a few, right? That's why I prioritize, you know, myoinositol, top of the list, especially during egg retrieval. Why? Because that's ovarian health, right? You want your ovaries operating optimally. And that is an awesome, awesome supplement. You definitely want the ubiquinol. You definitely want the glutathione or the NAC, the NAC, right? You have to have the prenatal. You have to have the omegas if that's not in your prenatal, and the probiotic. The probiotic extends more past fertility. You know, 75% of your immune system is in your gut. You should be taking a probiotic anyway, pregnant or not pregnant, trying to get pregnant or not. So those are like my top tier supplements. And then, you know, if you can afford, you know, something else, you know, work on that. So definitely. Oh, and vitamin D and B your B complex. So because you definitely want those in a good place. But if you can't afford vitamin D, then make it a point to get out in the sun, because that's where vitamin D comes from. And if you live somewhere where there isn't a whole lot of sun, then you need a vitamin D supplement. And I don't mean a gummy, right? Because gummies, you don't absorb as much from gummies than you do from like a tablet or a capsule. And so if you're going to take a gummy, you have to take twice as much, which means you have to buy twice as many, right? And I know pills are not easy to swallow for everybody, but that's just the reality of gummies, you know. So it's temporary, right? Just, you know, or buy like a higher IU, you know what I mean, where you don't have to buy it every month and not necessarily take it every day. Or if you're really concerned about your vitamin D and you have a prescription plan, talk to your doctor and they can write you a prescription for, especially if you're low on vitamin D, to get your vitamin D in a good place before you go into the cycle. I cannot get the omega-3s down. I have trouble swallowing large pills. Do you do smoothies? You can always poke a hole in those capsules and squeeze it out into a smoothie and take it that way. You know, you ever get like the vitamin E capsules and poke a little needle hole and take the vitamin E to put it on your face? Something like that. Maybe squeeze it out into, it might not taste good, but maybe squeeze it out into a spoon if you can't swallow it, and swallow it that way. It might be like take cow liver or whatever. I have to do that when we were a kid. But you don't have to take them in pill form. You can always remove them from the capsule and mix it in like a smoothie or something and take it that way if you can't swallow them. So, and you could do that with all your pills. Like break those capsules open, drop it right in that smoothie, and then just drink it. So if you're going to do one every morning, you know, if that's your thing, then throw a bunch of kale, some dark leafy green vegetables in there that will help with iron. Kale, spinach, all of that, that'll help get you some natural iron in there. So maybe you can avoid, because I, for the longest time, I didn't need a iron supplement, but I was drinking a smoothie every morning with like 2 handfuls of spinach in it. So I was getting the iron that way. So if you don't want to pay for iron, you can buy some spinach or kale or what have you, or both, you know, and make them in a smoothie every morning. So there are, I mean, there are other ways to get certain supplements. Certain supplements you just can't get through food. So, you know, but that glutathione is important. And vitamin D is definitely important. But if you can't afford vitamin D, get out in the sun, start taking some walks while the sun is out, you know, and start basking in the sun. Don't forget your sunscreen while you do it. But go ahead and get in the sun, you know, and take your water with you. You know, so there's other ways to get around it. It may not be as convenient as popping a pill, right? But again, we do what we can, and it's temporary, right? You don't have to do this forever, just as long as you're going through the treatments, right? So you know, you just do what you can. Absolutely, just do what you can. All right, ladies. I think oh goodness me. I thought I was charging my phone. Apparently I was not. So it's charging now. That's why my phone died. I thought it was on the charger. I had it on the charger. It just wasn't, it was slow charging, wasn't charging fast enough to keep up with the fact that it was on. But I'm using my work phone now. So I was able, it helps to have two phones. People like, you have two phones? I have two phones. So any other questions real quick? We can make it an even Stevens hour and a half. We got 8 minutes. We can lollygag, talk about fun stuff, like my butter cookie donut. That was so good. Probably shouldn't have ate that, but it was so good. I got another donut in here because I like glazed donuts. But how are you ladies doing? How we doing anything for the holiday? Let's see, we still got a few people watching. How many of you ladies are like at work or like working right now while sitting on this live? Almost did. Am I talking to myself? Hopefully I'm not. Multitasking, I get it. You know I get it. Oh man. Oh, Phoebe, 10 weeks pregnant. Yay. Doing a small dinner for Christmas. Thanksgiving was too much. Oh, I understand. Mm. I actually still have some Thanksgiving leftovers in my refrigerator. I've got collard greens, a little bit of mac and cheese. Actually, and I got a whole sweet potato pie that I put in the freezer. So I will pull that out for Christmas if I don't pull it out sooner. Took me a while to get through. I have 2 sweet potato pies that I made around. It took me a while to get through that first sweet potato pie. So I put the second one in the freezer. I'm staying in Atlanta for the holiday. Saving the coins for IVF since my cycle will start on the 6th. Yeah. Gotta save them coins, girl. Yeah. I'm not doing anything for Christmas. I'm tired, y'all. I really just want to sit and just be. I don't want. I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to do nothing. I might take my baby to the park. You know. Well, I'm gonna be off for 2 weeks. The first week, my sitter will be working, so he will be at the sitter, and I will be luxuriating in my no kid life, no kid, no work life for that first week. The second week, he will be home with me, and so we'll probably just go out to the park so he can run off his extra energy. I will cook a little something. Okay, for Christmas. Girl, you still holding on to them leftovers? I did freeze some things. Had to throw a couple things out. No, you know what? I didn't even cook that much. I cooked two Cornish hens. Got through the Cornish hens. There was stuffing in that. I didn't make. I bought 3 boxes of. I cheat with the stuffing. I bought 3 boxes of stovetop. I only made the one. Most of the stovetop went into the Cornish hens, and so once all of that got done, I never even made any more stovetop. So the stuffing was gone. The Cornish hens were already small, so all of that's gone. I threw out the last Cornish hen in the pan with the last Cornish hen, and it had a little bit of meat left on it, but I wasn't gonna eat that, especially with all the stuffing going. That went in the trash yesterday, and the candy yams have long been gone. I had it was 2 pounds. Actually, no, it was 2 pounds. I had 2 fresh bunches of collard greens. So I only have a little bit of collard greens left. So those will probably get done by the end of this week. The mac and cheese was like a big pan. That's got maybe what 1 or 2 servings of mac and cheese in it. I'm not necessarily trying to hold on to it. I'm not eating it every day because I'm kind of sick of it. But I could probably finish that mac and cheese off, or at least half of what's left, for like lunch, and then maybe like tomorrow finish it off so I can just get rid of the pan. I'm not particularly trying to hold on to it, but I didn't really make that much. I made collard greens, the Cornish hens with the stuffing. So that's what 3 things. I made the candy yams, which are already all gone, and I made the mac and cheese, and I had the sweet potato pies. That was pretty much it. So it ain't much left. Ain't nobody to eat it but me, me and Baby G. So, well, actually, my house guests, we had it for like leftovers or whatever, but we're not like eating it all the time. So, the mac and cheese, I have a problem throwing away mac and cheese. The greens will probably eventually get thrown away, but my friend, she was very fond of the collard greens, so she's been eating the greens more than I have. So I don't even know what's left there. I know the container is still in there. I don't know how much is really left. Enjoy your vacation. You deserve it. Oh, thank you, Phoebe. I don't know how much I'm gonna get to enjoy, but hey, Didi. Oh, hey, Marquita. Look, you finally caught a live, but we're at the end of it. We've been here for an hour and a half. We've been here for an hour and a half, and I've been sitting. This is my insulin pump here. That is low. My reservoir is low. It's about time for me to update. Well, I got 12. I got 12 units left, so I'll get through the rest of today with this. Now, I've gone to the insulin pump because when I'm on these IVF meds, my glucose like shoots up, and so I'm just trying to keep it all steady. So I resorted back to the insulin pump. But we'll see. I'll be on the replay crew. Yeah, that's all right, Marquita. That's okay. You made it here. You made it here. All the story is in the beginning. So probably like the first half hour. What you did miss is me getting a call from the fertility clinic, which cut me out of the live. My phone dying, which cut me out of the live. You miss. That's all you miss. Just me and a lot of banter, and then me talking about how crazy my life is right now. Well, everything going on. So um, perfectly okay. I wasn't sure if anybody would even be able to join me on here, considering what time it is, and this is not a normal time for me to do a live. But I have house guests, and doing a live like I normally do just would not work with the way the kids run around. Or she would be working, and we wouldn't be able to like just talk, you know. So I'm in here in my car after having done some acupuncture and some chiro for the first time since October, which feels really good to do something for myself. Like me going to the office to get these appointments done is really a step towards doing something for me instead of for everybody else or somebody else. Um, which is important. You know, we got to take care of ourselves. And I've been missing a lot of that in these 2 IVF cycles, just trying to get stuff done and just really running ragged. Because in addition to my day job, I got a side hustle that I've been working as well, which is contributing to me not getting a lot of sleep. So, you know, the side hustle was supposed to help pay for some of this IVF stuff, but I with all the stuff going wrong at my house, that's what it's paying for real, for real. So, but I'm happy and I'm blessed to have the extra money to throw around in just these kind of ways. However, I need it, but it just always seems when the extra money comes in the house, so here comes an extra bill. You know what I mean? So it just is what it is. It is what it is, ladies. It will be what it will be. But I'm glad you ladies are doing great. Um, the end of the year is upon us. I do still plan, even though I agreed to work on December 30th, I do still plan to keep our traditional New Year's Eve live. I don't know what I'll be doing or what I'll be cooking, but I will be in front of the fireplace as usual. With that. So you can always catch me there, and that's a nice little 3.5 hour live at least. How do you deal with negative comments or perceptions during IVF regarding age and weight? Every time they mention over 40 and plus size, it makes me cringe. So, from who, Heather? The doctors or from people in general, right? Because doctors are always doom and gloom. Because I think you have to approach them differently. So, if we're talking about doctors, I would say I was just, the smile and stare to the doctors, right? Doctors are always going to mention, oh, you're over 40. Oh, you're plus size. Oh, you're this. Oh, you're that. And I always have in the back of my mind, especially the REs, they have to, or at least an established clinic anyway, will have to report their IVF statistics. And they don't particularly like plus size women because statistically, plus size women do not respond to the medication as well. That is not everybody, but statistically, the extra weight prevents us from responding as well to the medications, which affects their results. Which, who wants to go to a clinic with poor statistics? Not very many people. However, you do have other clinics like CNY, who will take on more challenging cases. Their statistics might not be as good, but they take on more challenging cases, and that is why. So just because you look up a clinic and you see their statistics and they may not look as great, doesn't necessarily mean they're not a great clinic. It might mean that they're taking on harder cases so that they don't always do as well, and that affects their statistics. It's about really just researching them, maybe talking a bit to them about what kind of patients that they take. Do they take older women? Do they have BMI requirements, right? When you find those, hey Arlette, yep, still over here. If they have BMI requirements, I feel like if they have BMI requirements, they're probably a little bit more statistics sensitive, right? They want to almost guarantee levels of success by instituting those requirements. And so it, you're probably going to see higher statistics with clinics like that. They don't necessarily advertise that they have those requirements. That's why it's good to ask. But a doctor is always going to be doom and gloom. Oh, when you're older, and you're using your own eggs, right? Because there's a, increased probability of Gerald syndrome. There's an increased probability of this, that, and the other. And so I think you just have to have thicker skin when it comes to the doctors, because they're going to say what they want to say. What I really want to hear is, are we going to do this or not? So just tell me now. Don't beat around the bush. Don't waste my time. You want to treat me or no? Because I got other places I can be. When it comes to other people, because other people, family, friends, and I say friends because people we think are friends may have opinions about having babies at later ages, especially if they had their babies earlier in life and they don't see them doing anything like that, or they just simply don't understand paying the money to do IVF. So they're kind of jaded against it because it costs money and stuff like that. Because they were able to get pregnant naturally. Again, you just have a little bit of a thicker skin. I do use, when it comes to people, I use those as education opportunities. You don't have to, but when somebody says, well, there's plenty of children who need parents in the world, why don't you just adopt, and this is that and the other, oh, you want to carry your own baby, or you want this and you want that. If you're not in my position, you're not in a position to give me any advice. Plain and simple. If you have not gone through an adoption yourself, you don't get to suggest that to me, because you have no idea what's involved in that process. I've had people tell me, why don't you, adopt? Well, adoption is more expensive than what I'm doing right now. Just because I say I'm doing IVF doesn't mean I'm paying for IVF. I have insurance that covers my IVF. So that makes IVF more cost effective than going the adoption route for a baby. I spent less money than a friend of mine, who went straight to the adoption route because she didn't care about carrying. I did have a want to carry a baby. Didn't necessarily need to be my egg, but I wanted to experience pregnancy. I didn't always want kids in life, but I always wanted to experience pregnancy. I didn't know exactly how I was going to do that if I didn't have kids of my own, when I wasn't sure whether I wanted to have kids or not. But, when you grow up with a bunch of babies around you and you babysit, you tend to not want kids because you've been around them, But, I did eventually come around to wanting to be a mom. And that's why I've gone this route. This isn't the way I wanted to do it, but, it is what it is. As far as being overweight, listen, let's be real. Fat people get pregnant all the time. Yes, statistics say you're higher risk for preeclampsia, for gestational diabetes, for this, for that, preterm labor, complications, overweight babies, all of that great stuff. I think that you can acknowledge the statistics, but that's not necessarily my story. I walked in the door with hypertension and insulin resistance. My baby came out regular weight. Why? It's about management. Regardless of what your chronic illnesses are, you have a team, right? Your doctors become a team of doctors that help to make sure that you and your pregnancy are as safe as it can possibly be. There are certain things you're just not going to be able to control with your body, especially while pregnant. And it's just about that management and doing your part, making sure your diet is good, making sure you're taking your meds like you're supposed to, making sure you're monitoring yourself like you're supposed to. I didn't have any preeclampsia, and no proteins in my urine ever. I didn't have any blood pressure issues while I was pregnant, even though I walked in the door with hypertension. My glucose was managed. Matter of fact, they expected my insulin needs to go up during pregnancy. That was not the case. My insulin needs actually went down towards the end of pregnancy, to the point where the day I delivered, I had to skip the insulin altogether. And they had to give me sugar water to bring my glucose up the day of delivery before I could go in there, because my glucose was so low. That I'm sure that's something they weren't expecting, but it's all about management and doing what you're supposed to do to make sure that it's managed and that it's controlled. And even if you don't do it in your regular everyday life, I mean, it's 9 months out of your life to bring this baby in that you work so hard for. You can do that. When the baby gets earthside, then, now it's not about saving the baby's life. It's about saving your life, because now you have a life to live for, right? And so, there's all of that. And you just manage it appropriately. Go to your doctor's appointments and keep watching your numbers. And, that's what it's about. I wouldn't be so scared about what the statistics say might happen to you, right? None of that has to be your story. Just say, I understand the statistics. I respect the statistics. I do take it seriously. This is why I have this team of doctors around to help me manage it and stay on top of it, to make sure that everything is everything. And that's how I handle that negativity. So hopefully that helps somehow. It's a long way around, but hopefully that helps. All right, you may have to do a few referrals. When I was contacting clinics in the Philly area asking about BMI, they were not giving straight answers, saying it depends on the doctor. Even the clinic, I mean, it's not the doctor. I don't know. Sometimes they want you to get in to give them a little bit of money before, some of these clinics are about making money, so they might mislead you, into coming in there doing a consult, and when they don't even really want to treat you, you know what I mean? Hey, Crystal B, do you remember the grade of embryo you transferred to get your son? Yes, he was a day 6, meaning he had to grow 6 days before they froze him. He was a day 6 for BB. I had the impression that they did have BMI requirements, but did not want to say that until after a consultation. Yeah, they want you to come in and get that consultation money, and then they'll tell you all their guys, because you ringing their phone, they want to make some money off you. Instead of referrals, I should have said going in for consultations. Mommy brain, yeah, no worries. Yeah, and I would ask outright if either that there's a BMI requirement or you don't. I mean, I know my previous RE, he never said whether he had a BMI requirement or not. He treated me for IUI. But even before I went in for IUI, he gave me this whole story about this patient that he had who was overweight and got pregnant successfully, gave birth to the baby. I don't know, had some complications with preeclampsia and died, right? And left her baby here. And he told me that story and said, "You sure you still want to go through with this?" And I'm like, yes, it's sad what happened to that woman and for that baby, but her story does not have to be my story. So either you're going to throw statistics at me about what could happen, that was something that happened in your past. What are the statistics for the rest of your patients? How many patients like that have you treated? You know what I mean? That ended up with that result. Instead of just telling me a story to try to scare me off from doing this. Listen, if I had a man, I probably wouldn't be here right now. I'd be back at home practicing, trying, and having a good time with him instead of sitting here talking to you when you're trying to give me this scary story. You know what I'm saying? So we doing this or no? Because I can be somewhere else. That's the reality. There are doctors out here that are willing to work with obese women. They do understand the concept of older versus time to lose weight, right? When you're older, you don't have a year, 2 years to or 3 years to go get some bariatric surgery to drop a bunch of pounds to get to the ideal BMI. We don't have that kind of time. We're racing a clock here. There are clinics that understand that clock, you know what I mean? And there are clinics that are really looking at their statistics. And I believe my previous RE was looking at statistics, because once he realized how well I responded, which was well enough for him to back my medications down, he could have cared less about my weight was. When we went into for the second IVF, I had gained weight since the first one. You think he even bothered to care about that? No, he knew what kind of responder I was at that point. He could have cared less about the weight. And if it was really about my weight and making sure that I had a healthy pregnancy, then you would have never even attempted IUIs, which I did 3 of them with you. So now all of a sudden we want to do IVF, and it's like, well, I'm not comfortable doing IVF with you at your BMI. Is this about getting me pregnant, or is this about statistics? What's happening here? You know? So I had to drop 38 pounds for him, which unfortunately took me 8 months to do. And he didn't even wait for me to get all the way down to 40. You know, I lost most of the weight before he decided to go ahead and get started. So clearly I was on my way. He saw I was committed to that, you know, and then he decided to just go ahead and do it. I don't know if he just needed the money or whatever, but it probably also didn't help that I was insurance paid and not self-pay. So he didn't make as much money. He cost me money in the process. Ain't nobody pay me my money back, you know? So all these doctors have agendas, you know. They'll tell you, oh no, we're not statistics focused or whatever. You can say that to you blue in the face. I'm watching how you move when it comes to me and patients like me. How you're moving is somebody that's concerned about their statistics, not so much about what's going to happen to me and whether I'm going to be successful or not. This was several different clinics. It's a shame. That's why I stayed at my clinic and gave some pushback for the BMI requirement to have my transfer. They caved, and baby sister is here. Yes, here, happy and healthy, just like mommy, right? Congratulations again, Arlette. I don't think they would have budged to do the IVF, but the BMI requirement was ridiculous for just a transfer or IUI. Yeah. I think they'll tell you it's got nothing to do with statistics, but I mean, some are more statistics heavy than others. But trust me, the statistics are sitting in the back of their mind, whether they bring it up or not, you know, because I brought up the whole statistics thing because even now with this new clinic, there was a whole lot of push for me to do PGT testing. And it's just like, the biopsy is too expensive. Oh, well, the test is just, no, the test is not the problem. I get all the medical reasons, all the Down syndrome and this and that, and me being 42 and all of that. I get all of that. But your biopsy price tag, too high. Too high for what I got going on here. I got a kid already. Insurance don't pay for the biopsy because I'm old, you know, and I did a carrier screening. They offered me a carrier screening. Now, granted, I didn't need the carrier screening. I'm using the same donor. I already have a kid with him. My donor had a carrier screening, although not the expanded one. He did have his initial carrier screening, and they asked me if I wanted to do one because I did not do one before, and I was just curious about my own genetics. I went ahead and did that carrier screening, and and then we started talking about PGT and the fact that my insurance does cover biopsy, right? And so I learned that because my coworker, pardon me, who's also going through IVF, she and I have been talking, and her clinic offered her like a $2,000 credit on her PGT testing because our insurance covered biopsy. Now, the difference between me and her is that she does have a genetic something or other that she's trying to eradicate, and she's doing PGTA and PGTM testing on her embryos, and I think she got a credit for that purpose because she was doing PGTM. Because even though it says that my insurance will cover biopsy, the fine print is with medical necessity, and unfortunately being over 40 is not medical necessity enough. However, had I paid that $4,400, I was going to submit to the insurance anyway and let them see what they would do about it, since I know that they cover biopsy. But basically, me talking to finance at this clinic, she was saying, you know, we've been through this before, and you know, and all of that, and they'll say it's covered, but the fine print is with medical necessity. And unfortunately, being old is not medical necessity enough. Now, if my carrier screening came back with something that was worth testing for, then at that point there might have been something that my insurance would do. They would try to submit it to see if insurance would pay for it. Unfortunately, but fortunately, my carrier screening came back and said I was a carrier of absolutely nothing of all the things that they tested. I'm within that rare top 5% of people who come back with absolutely nothing of the 250 some odd things that they test for. So I was like, great. Apparently I have great genetics. Wonderful. So I was hoping something came back from that so that we could maybe submit for PGT would give a reason for insurance, but it came back with nothing. So it is what it is. And so that's why last cycle I didn't bother with the PGT testing. There were really only 2 really good embryos that were even worth testing if we were going to test, even though they froze 3. So I'm like, no, that's not enough for me to spend $4,400 while it's prepaid. They already have the money. So they're looking at me this month, this cycle as well. Like, are we doing the same thing? Yes, we're doing the same thing. It's got to be worth my time and money to spend. I need 3 good embryos to spend that $4,400, or you're going to be refunding me and my card that $4,400. And trust me, with the fact that I got, with all the stuff I got going on at the house, that's where that $4,400 can go. It ain't got to go to no PGT testing where I can practically guess which embryos are good and which embryos are bad. Okay, so you know, it's gonna be what it's gonna be. So I don't need to spend no money for somebody to tell me my insurance will pay for me to do as many transfers as I need to do. And right now, 3 is all we're looking at anyway. And then maybe I'll get another 3 with this cycle, and in reality, only 1 or 2 of these embryos will actually be normal anyway. So now it'd be nice to do PGT to see if genders and all, but that doesn't even matter at this point anyway. I'm just looking for a sibling, So it's just, IVF, they were afraid of liability because they did the IVF at their facility under full anesthesia. So they would not do the IVF for anyone with risks of anesthesia complications. Not even while you're awake, Arlette. They won't do it awake. Because I guess here in Florida, they got something they can't put me under because of my BMI. They did it before. My BMI is about the same as I did it before. So, but I don't know. Well, I'm a carrier for some blood issues, sickle cell trait, and some other blood thing. Yeah, I don't know. I was surprised that nothing came back. Not a single. I was less than 1%, like low risk for everything down the line. And I even spoke to the genetic counselor and everything, and she was like, well, have you seen yours? I said, yep, I saw the results. Much ado about nothing. I probably could have said, no, fortunately, insurance paid for the test. I didn't have to pay for it. I did have to pay for the blood draw because they did the blood draw at the office. But the actual test they submitted to insurance, I got the results back. So I presume insurance paid for it, I guess, because I'm going through IVF. They paid for it under that guise. Otherwise, it would have cost me like $270 some odd dollars or whatever. I was interested, so I got it. Turns out though, they also do they gave me my like regional genetics. I'm saying regional. Anyway, they did the regional genetics, like where I'm from regionally. I think 80 something percent Northern Africa, something like that. I do know my dad's side were definitely slaves. I've traced his side back in ancestry all the way back to the plantation, where his family come from. Not so sure. I was surprised though, because I was always under the impression that my mother's mother was part Native American, but nothing American, nothing American came back in my genetics. Everything was African, and I had mostly African, was like 84 or something percent African, and then I was like, what, maybe 4% or something European. Turns out I'm like 4%, maybe 8% or something European. There was a little bit that was they couldn't tell, right? It's determined. But apparently I'm like 4% Italian. Who knew? So, so it was cool. It was cool. And I'm mostly, I think I'm like 70 something percent Western African, or something like that. So it was interesting to see. If I can get my phone on, I can pull up the actual percentages. No, they don't do a wake at all. Ugh. You said you couldn't afford it. That's the carrier screening, Heather. The carrier screening. I had the same with barely any Native American. I think some people were passing for Native American when they could during slavery. Who would blame them? Yeah. Yeah. I know the European side definitely comes from my dad's side because his mother, what I don't want to say that she was half white, but she was definitely what do they call it? Like mulatto. Very, very fair skinned woman. She died when I was 6. We saw her a few times. I do remember visiting with her. We didn't spend a lot of time with her. She was very sickly when I was a child. But I do recall her being very, very fair skinned. My dad is also very red bone, high yellow. And for some reason, I don't know, my niece Ashley would always say that I'm like super light skinned, that I'm so like super lighter than her. I always thought she was lighter than me. It doesn't matter. Like it's all melanin, right? It's all melanin. My dad was very, very, very red bone. And I do recall my grandmother being very, very, very fair skinned in her older age. And but I was just like baffled, like no American, not a single percent, maybe a little bit in the undetermined, but like no American. That is so crazy. Yeah. So, that's what it is. 87.3% sub-Saharan African. So I'm 74.4% Western Africa, 8.1% Eastern Africa, 4.8% Central Africa, and then I'm 8.4% European, which is 4.6% Southwestern Europe, 2.3% Northern Italy, and 1.5% Ashkenazi Jewish. And then I'm 4.3% unassigned. So clearly Western African for sure, but definitely African. So now I feel like I gotta visit Western Africa. I have been to Egypt, so I've been to Africa, but not Western Africa. So I have to get there. My sister made a good point that if I were married, that I would not be concerned about sending an embryo to be tested. I would just get pregnant and deal with what it is to come. Exactly. And that was the point. That right there, Heather, was the point that I made to the embryologist, because when I was having those conversations on day 5 and day 6, those were with the head embryologist, which he and I have had conversations before 4 years ago. We have a very, very good rapport. To the point where we were talking about smoothies and reishi mushroom and all that stuff when I was in the office, right? So he and I have a very good rapport, and he is the reason that I chose this clinic to do this again, because he is the man with the plan as far as I'm concerned. He is the one caring for the embryos, and he understood where I was coming from. He didn't know what they were charging for the biopsy, and he understood exactly where I was coming from as far as what I know about my history 4 years ago, and it ain't gonna get no better than that. If anything, maybe it would be the same, but it's definitely not going to get better. And knowing what my history was 4 years ago, why would I spend this money, this kind of money, especially with the jump that the money made? If it were $2,500 still, I probably would have just not even thought 2 bits about it, right? And would have just paid it and had it done with the 3 that they had to do. But at $4,400, I just can't do it. I just can't do it. And he even went so far as to ask the owning physician if they'd be willing to give me a discount since I was going to do the back-to-back, and he said no. And I understand why he said no, because I'm an insurance paying patient and they are getting pennies on the dollar for doing IVF for me when you pay with insurance, right? They're probably getting $250 to do my egg retrieval versus the thousands of dollars they get from a self-pay patient, right? So why would he give me a discount on PGT testing? The pressure there is because that's where the money is in the PGT testing, all the stuff that insurance does not pay for. And I'm going to tell you, this clinic has nickeled and dimed me to death, okay? Because I'm already paying some weird thing in Florida. I'm paying $1,300 for the anesthesiologist to come in and not even put me to sleep, okay? I'm paying $1,300 for that. I'm paying $300 for them to thaw the sperm, which is simply like throw it in some warm water for 10 minutes. I'm paying $300 for that. They charge me $250 to receive my sperm from the cryobank, pop the box, pull it out of the tank, and stick it in their freezer. $250 for that. I was just like, what? And now $4,400 for the biopsy, which is the same price that they biopsy one embryo, or 50 is $4,400, which makes no sense to me whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? So no, I get to choose how I spend my money. It's not about whether I got the money to spend. It's about whether it's worth spending, and it wasn't worth spending to me. Okay, wasn't worth spending. And I told the embryologist, I said, look, if I were doing this naturally, I wouldn't know what I was getting, right? I'd either get pregnant or I wouldn't. I would get pregnant and miscarry, or I wouldn't. I would get pregnant and have, a baby with Down syndrome, or I wouldn't, right? I would just be dealing with it as it comes. This is no different, right? And we already know that there are studies out there on PGT testing that's basically saying, one, it's not beneficial for women unless they're over 40. Okay, I'm over 40 now. When I did it before, I was 38. So that was an argument to be made for not doing it back then, but now I'm 42. Okay, there's an argument made for me to do it. So there is some benefit. Okay, fine. But then there's also the studies that say, one, it's not 100%. Two, there is possibility that, some of these cells could correct themselves in the womb, but my reality is, for the price tag of $4,400, I could do 3 transfers for less than that, given my insurance. Since my insurance is going to pay for it, I can do 3 transfers of these 3 embryos and not pay $4,400. Now, is it worth so me emotionally to do that? Yes, especially if I end up pregnant and end up miscarrying. It's worth on me emotionally. But the reality is, financially, I'm not going to spend anywhere near $4,400 to do that. I'd rather do the transfers and let the cards fall where they may than pay $4,400 when I have a kid at home that needs daycare and pull-ups and clothes and food, because he already eat me out of house and home. I don't know where he hides all the food, but he does. You know what I'm saying? He needs toys and love and time and attention and all that great stuff. Meanwhile, I'm spending $4,400 on something that I don't even need to spend money on. So all of that is a factor. You got to take all of that into consideration. Like, insurance is not paying for this. I have to pay out of pocket. I'm paying out of pocket for this anesthesiologist. I'm paying $1,200 on this omnitrope that nobody even knows whether I need or not. And even after doing one cycle, the doctor couldn't even tell me whether that had an impact on it or not. Right? He's just a science guy. He believes in omnitrope because it's human growth hormone, and he believes it maybe helps with something, but he can't say how much it actually helped with. He's just throwing the kitchen sink at me. So he's like, we could do the omnitrope. We could not do the omnitrope. There's $1,200 I'm paying because you a science guy, not because you actually think I need this in my life. So here's all this money we're spending. Like, I know that omnitrope is like liquid gold for a lot of women out there. That's the only reason I didn't fight the omnitrope. But who knows? Maybe it impacted my results. Maybe it didn't. But let's not rock the boat. I paid for it, but I used it before. Let's use it again. See what happens. Maybe it's making the difference between me getting that day 6-4 AB and me not having anything. Perhaps it made a difference. I don't know. We'll never know. There's no way to tell. But yeah, sometimes it's just easy to just try to get pregnant. Science is a beautiful and wonderful thing. right? And I'm totally for it. I'm totally for PGT testing to increase my chances of having a successful live birth of a baby that has no chromosomal issues. I get it. I'm all the way there on the testing, but the price for the biopsy makes this a no bueno. You know what I mean? Makes it a no bueno. Sorry I was late. What was the latest on the cycle? Cliff notes. Latest on the cycle is Stim Day 8. Right now, well, as of yesterday, my follicles were at 13, going on 14, the biggest ones. I go in tomorrow for another monitoring. I gotta go in early tomorrow, so they're not gonna do any blood work. So I won't get any estradiol for at this point in the cycle. But at least we'll know where my follicles are. But there's opportunity. He doesn't think I'm going to be ready for a retrieval, for a trigger, to trigger until Monday. So I will likely be in the office again Monday morning, which is fine. And then hopefully I will trigger Monday for like a Wednesday egg retrieval. But my estradiol for yesterday was $4.99. I don't have a count on the follicles. I want to say there's probably like 7 or 8 in there that they were measuring. They don't put anything in the portal, so I think some of the measurements from last cycle got in the portal, but after my retrieval. So I don't get any of that. I don't even know why they use the portal. They don't put anything in it other than the lab work when they can just print the lab work out. But but that's where we are. That's where we are, Arlette. Hopefully that helps. All right, PGT. Yeah, okay. I'm pissed. They are charging me $400 to ship from one location to another. I was originally doing an IUI, and now that I'm doing IVF, I have to go to the NY location. But see, that's how much it costs to ship it in general. Like I paid $300 to ship the sperm from the cryobank to the clinic, and then you're charging me $250 just to pop the box and put it in your local freezer. And then you have me sign paperwork that says that when I'm done treatment with you, you're going to move all my stuff to some more permanent location, which is then going to cost me some even more money, which is another reason for me to do another retrieval so I can just use that last vial of sperm, because ain't no point in them even transferring that to another place. Let me just use that last vial of sperm and see what we're going to do, because if I manage to get pregnant behind these embryos from these egg transfers, then I'd rather they donate them to somebody who can use them if they're eligible for being donated. If not, then I guess you'll have to destroy them, but let's not do that right away. Let's make sure I bring a baby home before we do that. And I don't mind paying storage for embryos, but I don't want to pay storage for sperm at this point. So they want you to sign up for their little thing, and it's gonna cost me money for them to come and pick it up and do that transfer. Like the nickel and diamond is crazy. It's crazy. These clinics are out of hand. They are totally out of pocket with all the money they're trying to charge them for what? Like it's like you're taking advantage of women who are struggling enough as it is, that we have to go through these measures to make a baby, to get a baby, to have a baby, and then you're nickel and diming me as I go along. And it's just not cool. And it's not like I got anything against this clinic. I'm not saying that. I think a lot of the clinics are doing the same thing. They got to make their money. Can't fault you on that. They are for-profit businesses, and that's the reality. Right? Nobody said that they were a non-profit clinic. Right? They're here and they're trying to make their money. I'm not saying that the clinic that I'm at now is a baby factory. I do think the doctors care. They do take their time. They answer the questions. He took his time with me to answer my questions. He had other patients. He took his time. He didn't rush me out. We really only had a half hour. He probably stayed with me longer than that. The nurses were basically coming in like, "Doc, you got another patient. You got to get out of here." But he took his time in answering my questions. I appreciate that. So I'm not saying the clinic is like they don't care and this is that and the other, whatever. I'm not saying that at all. But there's a lot of that going on with some of these other clinics where they are really baby factories, and you are just a number. You're in the revolving door and out the revolving door, and they could care less what happens because the more cycles you go through, the more money they make, right? So, like, I mean, if you think about it from a business perspective, is it better for me as a business if you do 2 cycles or you do 1, right? Is it better for me if I get you pregnant on the first try or if I get you pregnant on the 3rd or 4th try? Who's making the money here? Just saying. Just saying. And that's why I think it's important for us to be advocates, because a lot of times these doctors just sit and wait to make any changes, because the more cycles you do, the more money they make, especially if you're self-pay. You know, I think these doctors should be more proactive on, especially women who have PGs. Like, I mean, I'm in contact with women who have PGT tested embryos that are normal, get pregnant and miscarry early, and the doctors are doing nothing. Like, nothing. They're not trying to find anything different. They're not looking into anything different. They're not doing any different tests. And I'm just going, have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this? And they're like, no, they didn't let me ask. No, well, maybe we can do this. Get in there and start asking for stuff to do, because it just seems like they're just going to run your embryos out without doing any testing to see if something else is going on. You know, and that's the thing. I think the doctors wait too long to do, to see if something else is going on with your body. Especially when you're older women, older woman, the very first thing they blame it on is your eggs, the quality of the eggs. Oh, it probably was a chromosomal issue. You do not know that unless you've tested the fetal tissue after a miscarriage, whether the issue was chromosomal or not. So don't sit up here and make assumptions based on the fact that I'm older or whatever. A lot of us have multiple things going on. We're older. There might be something going on with the uterus. There might be, I mean, look at Tamikia. She's older. The easy thing to pick is the fact that she's older and her eggs are just bad because she's older. But she had other things going on with her uterus. She had her inflammatory responses and all of that going on, NK cells and all of that. Most of these clinics don't even test. Like my previous RE, I had to ask for my NK cells to be tested. I had to ask for MTHFR to be tested. I had to ask him to test my vitamin D. It wasn't his idea to test my vitamin D. My vitamin D was in the toilet. He never tested it, ever. Not even from the beginning. I asked him to test it. You know, so it's just, some of these doctors, like, especially they've been doing it for a while, they have their process, they have what they test and what they don't test, and they don't really look at anything else. When, you know, the studies are out here changing, vitamin D is kind of like one of the latest and greatest things that are starting to come out more and more, that vitamin D is important in this process. But if you got a doctor that's been doing this for 25 years, wasn't nobody looking at vitamin D back then? So that's probably why it wasn't even part of his process to just test for vitamin D, right? But I only found out about the vitamin D because I was so engrossed in TTC, and I was following so many women, you know, who were going through this process, and vitamin D kept popping up. Oh, my vitamin D was this, my doctor never tested my vitamin D. I wonder what mine is. And it was in the toilet, below normal, well below normal, 20, when normal is 30. Normal for pregnancy is 40. Right? So I maybe would have had a better response, 4 years ago with my IVF, had my vitamin D been in a better place before I did my egg retrievals. You know, knowledge is power. That's all I can say. Knowledge is power. And unfortunately, these doctors, most of them, I'm not going to say all of them, but most of them are not about educating the patient. They're about telling the patient what to do. Here's some paper and some instructions, if they even give you that, right? And telling you what to do, how to take the meds, how much meds to take, and then you just come back in and you trust that they guide you through this process, but you have no idea what's going on, why they're making the decisions that they're making, and nobody's challenging them to justify. Right? I'm not saying you're wrong because I'm not the medical professional, but can you give me a justification as to why you're doing it this way versus that way? Because I've seen other people do it this way, so explain to me why you're doing it that way. For my situation, you know what I mean? Everybody's situation is different. There's more than one right answer for everybody. But knowledge is power here, and sometimes it takes a bold patient to say, can we test this? Can we test that? Because when I asked my doctor to test my vitamin D and other things, this was after a failed transfer of a PGT normal embryo with supposedly a perfect uterus, after he used suppository progesterone that my body didn't absorb at all. So probably would have been a perfectly good embryo, and that was my little girl, by the way. And had I been on the right progesterone, might be here today, right? And I may not have had to even come to do this because I would have had Jaden's embryo still in winter camp. You know what I mean? In order for me to transfer him and not have to go through more egg retrievals, right? But, you know, with each failure comes a lesson. I learned, you know, about my body, and hey, JB, and all of that. So there is something to be said. I don't think it was all completely wasted, but I do think that things could have gone differently. Maybe this is the way it was supposed to go. And you know, that's just how it happens. You know, I can't imagine my life without baby G right now. Had I got pregnant with that embryo, baby G wouldn't be here. It'd be a different baby. Who knows what life would be. You know, you just never know. But it's just, you know, I feel like things could have gone differently. Do I wish they went differently? Yeah, because who wants to go through more egg retrievals? Nobody, right? I possibly could have gotten my 2 kids without having to do another egg retrieval or 2 more egg retrievals, right? But this is where I am now. You know, no crying over spilled milk. But it's just, you know, sometimes it's important to know what we're getting into. When I had my fibroid surgery, I can't even tell you how many surgeries that I watched on YouTube. So when I went in to talk about my surgery, I asked him all kinds of questions. He was like, "Oh, wow, you really did your research." And I was just like, "I'm not playing here, doc. I can't ask you questions when I'm on the table and you cut me open. I want to know what's happening." You know? So, and he's like, "Okay, all right, yeah, we're not going to use this. We are going to use that," and blah, 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 blah. You know, I'm an educated patient. Okay, be patient with me, answer my questions, and we good to go. That's it. I'm not an unreasonable person. I'm not going to tell you how to do your job, right? I come to you for you to give me advice. Now it's up to me whether I want to accept that advice or not. But, you know, at the end of the day, I come to you as the medical professional. And sometimes, you know, but these medical professionals are human. They make mistakes too. And they're not always thinking outside of the box, you know. And sometimes it helps to know what other doctors have done in other places and question, what if we did this? And see that doctor's opinion. Now, my previous RE could have cared less about supplements. Okay. He didn't believe there was any way to increase egg quality at all. Okay. So did I talk to him about my supplements? No, because I know he didn't believe in it. So I don't need him to believe in my supplements. I didn't need him to believe in acupuncture, but I did it anyway. Now, when I went and saw my second opinion, RE, I mentioned my supplements. She didn't have a problem with any of the supplements that I did. Yep, that's fine. Yep, that's fine. Oh, I don't know that one. You know, so every doctor is different. You know, if the doctor's telling you they don't, because like even when my MTHFR came back and he said, all right, well, we'll just give you a prescription for more folic acid. I said, well, what about methylated folate? And he gave me a blank stare. So what, you don't know about methylated folate? Like what? I don't understand. But my endocrinologist, right, the doctor I see about my insulin resistance, he saw the MTHFR. The first thing he did was show me a picture of methylated folate. So sometimes it's just about the doctor and what they believe in and what they know and what they study. Some doctors are into supplements and some doctors aren't. You can't necessarily depend on the doctor to tell you everything that you should do, which is why it's important to do what you ladies are doing, which is seeking out people who are telling their stories and asking questions and seeing what works for people, what maybe doesn't work for people. You know, just because it worked for me doesn't necessarily mean that it will work for you, but it could be worth a try. You know what I mean? Everybody's situation is different. For the latecomers, can you tell you where you are in the journey now? I am on IVF number 4. It is Stim's day 8. So I'm looking to do an egg retrieval next week. So I go in for my third monitoring appointment tomorrow morning, JB. So that's where I am. I know this live is going on over 2 hours now. Hope that helps. Hey Heather, thanks for sharing that because I was considering doing this suppositories to avoid the PIO shot. It just depends, right? Now, I will tell you, I'm not saying suppositories don't work. I'm not saying that at all. There are plenty of women out here who do IVF. They do a combination of PIO and suppositories so that they don't have to do the shot every day. There's some women that just do suppositories. You know what I'm saying? Depending on the country or whatever, the PIO seems to be the gold standard here in America. I had the medication to do that first go around. When I did my IUIs, I was on suppositories. So it's not that the suppositories did not work for me at all, but not every suppository is created equal. I'm going to put it that way. Because when I was doing my IUIs, I was on suppositories, but they were a compound formula, right? By the time I got to IVF, which was a year into my TTC journey, my insurance no longer covered compound formulas. So when he went to give me for my first retrieval, which was actually a year and a half into my cycle, into my journey, the compound formula, my insurance rejected it. Okay. And I wasn't willing to pay the $300 or whatever dollars for the suppositories, knowing that if I got pregnant, I was going to have to keep paying that. Right. So, he put in another prescription for different progesterone suppositories that were not a compound formula, and my body just did not absorb it. How do we know? One, I bled through the progesterone, so I was bleeding before we even got the beta. So that's how I knew that. And my home test basically was saying that I wasn't pregnant. And then when he did do the beta, he always checked for the progesterone. My progesterone was 4, which to me says, and I was still taking the progesterone suppositories. So if my progesterone is 4 at beta, then my body clearly was not absorbing that progesterone, right? So it could have just been that type of progesterone that my body just didn't absorb. I definitely did not bleed through the compound formula progesterone. So everything is different, right? And you just don't know until you know, right? And I feel like that ultimately was the demise of that cycle, the fact that I was on that different suppository progesterone when they rejected the compound formula, because clearly he prescribed that for a reason, right? So when they declined the compound formula, he probably should have just said, just take your progesterone and oil, but he didn't. He asked for something different that my body just didn't accept, right? And I feel like that ultimately led, but I can't prove it, right? I can't prove it. And when I went in for the appointment to talk about how that cycle ended, he showed up with 2 scholarly articles, right? That basically explained that sometimes IVF just doesn't work. And one of the articles was basically saying you essentially have to transfer an average of 4 embryos to get an 80% 80% success rate, right? Not 4 embryos at one time, could be 1 at a time, 2 at a time, whatever, but basically 4 embryos on average for an 80% rate of success, right? So even after 4 embryos, you still might not get pregnant. So he's basically shrugging his shoulders going, we did everything. We did the ERA, which you ended up not needing, but you did it. And we did the PGT testing, so we knew it was a normal embryo, so it's not a chromosome thing. Sometimes it just doesn't work, basically, is what he was trying to say. And he was like, we pretty much did everything, so we can just try everything the same again. And I said, no, we didn't do everything. And he's like, well, what do you think we should do? I said, I think we should run some blood work. He's like, well, what kind of blood work do you want to run? And so I started running down, and he was like, okay. He threw a few different things in there, a few extra things in there. 21 vials of blood later, my vitamin D was in the toilet. I had MTHFR gene mutation. My NK cells were fine. Like, he wasn't asking to test any of this stuff, but watching other people, you know what I'm saying, said, I want to know what this is for me, because this should have worked. By all means, this should have worked. So why didn't it? And I'm a problem solver for a living. So I'm trying to solve the problem because I don't want to repeat this. I only had 2 embryos to work with, right? The first one failed. What are we going to do with this last one before I have to start over? And that's where my mind took it. And it took me asking him to do that because he was not going to do that without me asking. And I might not have baby G today if it was not for that, but he definitely let me do PIO after that. So, because I told him, I said, oh, so my body didn't absorb that suppository. And he was just like, and again, blank stare. He didn't agree. He didn't disagree. So I think a lot of these doctors tend to be careful because it was his decision to do the suppository. I had the progesterone and oil in my possession. I had the needles. I had the vials. There was no reason why I could not do progesterone and oil. He refused to let me do it, saying, I'm thinking about your safety because they were intramuscular shots. And I was giving them to myself. Y'all can't see me rolling my eyes, but I was rolling my eyes at him. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm like, okay. And now, and then that cycle failed, and I was kicking myself for not standing up for the PIO harder. Because I was all for taking the PIO. But coulda, shoulda, wouldas, right? Can't cry over that spilled milk. It is what it is. You're welcome, JB. I need PIO injections, and I needed double the amount of what is typical. Everyone is different. Exactly. Lady Mel would have taken it anyways. Well, here's the thing. I mean, maybe I could have took it, but then how would I justify getting pregnant and now needing refill on it? You know what I'm saying? And maybe I will say this: if you're gonna do suppositories because you don't want to do PIO, get your progesterone checked before transfer to make sure it's at a good level before transfer, because if it's not at a good level before transfer, your lining's not ready to accept an embryo. Cancel that transfer cycle, start over, and then do something different, right? But if your progesterone is at a good level prior to transfer, then it might be worth continuing to go with it. So like that given my experience, that's my advice to people who want to do suppositories. Make sure they are checking your progesterone before transfer. Make sure they are checking your progesterone after transfer, right? To make sure that it's at a good level and that it's staying at a good level. Because that's where it is. What Arlette is saying is she needed more. So even being on PIO, maybe whether you're on PIO or not, they should be checking your progesterone levels before transfer to make sure your body is prepared. Because the progesterone is what's necessary to make your lining prepared to receive and implant an embryo. So, I mean, but you as a patient need to understand why the progesterone is necessary, why you have to take it for so many days before you do a transfer, why all of that's important. But they're not giving us that education. They're not saying the progesterone is what prepares your lining for transfer. They're not saying that. We don't get that education. So knowledge is power. Knowledge is power, right? Knowing what's supposed to happen, when, why it's happening this way will help you make better decisions, and ask better questions, or more questions, not necessarily better, but more questions to your doctor. And I'm not saying you got to be a know-it-all, or that you have to know every medical term or anything like that, or even be the expert on how much and how many or whatever, but at least understand the progesterone's role in the process. At the very least, understand the role in the process. But also, Lady Mel, to your point, taking it anyways, there is a such thing as too much progesterone, right? So if, I was taking, let's say I was taking his suppository and a PIO shot, I could have potentially used too much progesterone, which would have messed with my window of implantation, which could have resulted in the cycle now that transfer being unsuccessful as well. So it goes hand in hand, right? You need just enough. Your body does what it's supposed to do, or at least in most cases, it does, right? But in the cases of people who have to do ERA and need more or need less, You know what I'm saying? You don't know this until you get those tests done, right? But my doctor fought me on wanting to do the ERA before I transferred anything. He's like, oh no, that's a test you take after you failed a couple times. I said, well, I only got a couple times to fail. Why I gotta fail? Why I gotta lose what I have in order for you to do this test? We can just do the test now. I'd rather do the test now, find out that I didn't need the test, than do the test after I have wasted 2 embryos that took me 2 egg retrievals to get. Right? So what? I got to do another 2 egg retrievals to get 2 more eggs to try with, 2 more embryos to try with after we do an ERA and find out that I just needed a little bit more progesterone. That doesn't make any sense to me. Just like, I know about the test, let me just do the test because I worked too hard to get what I got. Right? I worked too hard to get what I got. It costs too much money, even with insurance. Okay? And I don't have time for failure for something that can be tested ahead of time. Let's just do the test ahead of time. That's it. He understood where I was coming from. He agreed to do the test. Turned out I didn't need it. I was receptive. Okay, cool. I'm fine with that. It's my money. Let me spend my money the way I need to spend it. Because guess what's more expensive? Doing 2 more egg retrievals to get 2 more embryos to find out that I needed a little bit more progesterone. That's way more expensive than just doing the test up front. The only reason I have my daughter is because of a New Year's Eve live with you asking if I had enough progesterone before transfer. I went back and did everything I did with my first transfer. Oh, well, I'm glad. But see, you see how important knowledge is and understanding the process? You know what I'm saying? So it's just, you just never know. And then even in IVF, even if your body naturally produces enough progesterone, you know, in a natural cycle, these gonadotropins that I have read will reduce your body's ability to create progesterone, which is why even with IUIs, if you took a if you did a medical IUI and you took a gonadotropin, because what I did with my 3 IUIs, I was on go no F for my IUIs. I needed progesterone supplementation because taking the gonadotropins reduces your body's ability to produce progesterone. So you need supplementation anyway behind these medications, and some people need it more than others. So it might even be so like, Arlette, you need an extra 12 hours of progesterone, right? Per the ERA, might not be because your body naturally needs more progesterone. It might be because just because you were on gonadotropins, it hindered your ability to generate progesterone behind your embryos that much that you needed the extra. You know what I'm saying? So that was something I just read, kind of randomly while, looking through research for different things. But all this stuff is important. And I'm not saying everybody should go to Google. Dr. Google can be dangerous, as well. You take it all with a grain of salt. But if you find something, or if you're watching one of my videos or Tanika's videos or Arlette's videos or anybody's videos, and they're saying something, take that back to the doctor. The doctor should be willing to discuss that situation with you and how it applies to your case, right? Because it's my case is not your case, right? Me and Arlette, 2 completely different people, 2 completely, not completely different protocols, but you know what I'm saying? We have different needs. Everybody has different needs. Everybody's body is different. But there's no reason why you can't say, you know what, I'm watching, a lot of ladies seem to be, doing this or doing that. Can we discuss it? And if your RE is not willing to discuss it, it might be time for a new RE, right? There is no doctor's office that you should be going into when you have questions and they're not willing to sit there and answer them for you. And I mean, take the time to answer, not give you some quick answer and step out the door. If you got a doctor that's doing that, time for a new doctor. You can fire your doctor. I've said this before. I will keep saying it. The doctor can fire you as a patient and you can fire them as a doctor. Yes, I had a hunch that I wasn't getting enough and asked them to double it on a mock transfer. They agreed and my blood work came back showing I had absorbed more. Yeah, because I asked for the day 20, I asked for the day 21 progesterone as well. right? And some of these doctors aren't necessarily testing day 21 progesterone. That means you have to get the blood work on a certain day after you ovulate. So you have to basically monitor for ovulation and then go and get blood work. It's not necessarily cycle day 21, but it's essentially 7 days after a LH surge. You know what I'm saying? So or confirmed ovulation or something like that. You need to get the blood work. It's very time based, so it's important. But that was part of the 21 vials of blood that they had taken was day 21 progesterone. So I mean, you can add, there's a test for that. It's on the sheet. All I have to do is check the box, and then you go and get the blood work done. You know, these doctors try to make these things so difficult, and it's really not that difficult, doc. Just check a box and sign your name. That's it. Y'all not even doing the blood draw. I'm going to Quest or LabCorp or wherever to get my blood drawn. It's crazy. My second failed because they switched my protocol. Your second transfer failed because they switched it. What they switched it to, Marquita? My doctors were very happy to try anything I asked, and the BMI was the only thing we butted heads on. So yes, that's important. You know, finding a doctor that's willing to work with you. You know, you want your doctor to partner with you in your care, right? Because they have their process, and don't get me wrong, they're very protective over their process. But when things are not working, they need to be open to new ideas. And if they're not open to what you're coming back with that makes sense, you know what I'm saying? You're not asking for anything off the wall. If they're not open to the situation, that's the problem. And that was why I wanted to talk to my RE about him maxing me out on the meds for this protocol, and to see how open he was going to be to the fact that, listen, I'm an older woman. You can't necessarily throw a bunch of meds at an older woman because you start affecting her quality when you do that. And he agreed that there were studies out there, you know, and that maybe the studies were a little questionable or whatever, but there are cases where that could be happening, right? He didn't think that was happening with me, but he was also willing to be open to let me choose a different kind of protocol. He did warn me that it might not have the same result or whatever, but he left it completely up. He gave me other options, and he left it completely up to me. I ultimately chose the same protocol, but I wanted to have the discussion. The discussion was more important than exactly what happened, because it told me a lot about him as a doctor to just have the discussion. So you know, like, let's talk, doc. You like to talk a lot. I need you to hear me on a few things, right? And he did. And he gave some options, and I understood what was going on. And I think he knew that I understood what was going on and what would happen and all of that, being the educated patient that I am. Now, not saying everybody would understand all those options and why something might be better than others, or whether this option is focused on number of eggs versus quality, or whether this option is focused on quality versus number of eggs. You know, not everybody's, you know, at the same level, I guess, of knowledge of what certain medications are used for and how they affect and how all the hormones and all of that great stuff. But like, if ever you're confused about anything, you ask the doctor to break it down for you. That's his job. You're paying him to do that. Never be afraid. If you are afraid to ask your doctor any questions, something's wrong. Something's wrong. Yes, they switched the timing of the start of my progesterone. My body needed more. Oh wow! So you didn't get the hours? See, that's the other thing too. I learned through PGT testing, like reading like the instructions. Not PGT, sorry. Through the ERA testing, reading the instructions on like when they take the biopsy, how much progesterone you are given before they take the biopsy for that test. I learned through all the education, not just like when I went to the lab site, I didn't just look at the patient information. I went to the doctor side and started reading all the instructions that the doctor needed to do and how they ran the test and all of that other kind of stuff. And that is where I learned that typical frozen transfer cycle is 120 hours of progesterone give or take 6 hours. Okay, 120. Is it 120? It's exactly whatever 5 days is. So 24. Let's do some math. Let's do some math right quick. Let me see. Calculator. There it is. So 24 times 5. Yes, 120 hours is exactly 5 days of progesterone, right? So essentially, what the ERA test, like let's say in Arlette's case, where she needed an additional 12 hours. Basically, the ERA test is saying that Arlette was pre-receptive, meaning her lining needed an additional 12 hours of progesterone. So while they didn't technically give her an extra day, she started her progesterone earlier in the day. Instead of starting at night, she took her dose in the morning to start, which got her the extra 12 hours, which means she needed 132 hours, give or take 6 hours, right? Of progesterone before her transfer. Because the way they would do it, they would say 120 hours from the time you start progesterone, right? And then you do the transfer, give or take, basically either at 100, you get from 114 hours to 126 hours to take that biopsy from the time that you start progesterone. That is why when you do a frozen embryo transfer and they tell you to take your first dose of progesterone at a certain time, you take it within that time frame, because the timing is very important to your window of implantation. A lot of women don't know that. This is why you cannot randomly ovulate and still continue on an FET cycle. They have no idea when the progesterone started generating in your body. Could have been 5 hours ago, could have been 10 hours ago, could have been 12 hours ago. They have no idea. It screws with all of the timing. The timing of the progesterone is the most important part. Aside from growing your lining to a nice fluffy size, the timing of the progesterone is the most important part to your transfer. And like I think when I did my frozen embryo transfers, I was probably on estradiol for like 3 weeks. I didn't understand why I was on 3 weeks of estradiol when it only takes 2 weeks to grow my lining. He wanted the lining to be a certain size, so he kept me on the estradiol until it got to that size, and then we went to progesterone. But once you hit progesterone, you're on the clock, right? And so that's what's important in those cycles, is the timing of that progesterone. That timing gets screwed up, you need to cancel it. That's probably one of the most important things you need to know going through this process, because if there is ever a fear that you have ovulated early or on your own or whatever during the cycle, you cancel that cycle, because you could be screwing with the possibility of success. I understand it hurts to wait and and all of that, but delays are not denials. You know what I'm saying? You want to do it right. This process costs too much. Take your time, do it right. You can do it, baby. Do it tonight, right? Don't rush. Don't rush. It's so, so important. Let me see. Wait. Okay. I need exactly 120. I was 6 hours short. My failed cycle. Wow. I'm planning for baby 2 and we'll do everything the same as my successful transfer. Absolutely. 120 is the standard, Marquita. 120 is the standard. If they're not giving you 120, that's a problem. And I'm going to tell you, when I went for my FET transfer for baby G and the doctor gave me the dates, I started counting the days and the hours. He was short a day. He was going to have me come in on a transfer on day 4, not day 5. And he said, no, I always do it on day 5, not day 6. I said, no, you're talking about day 4. If you want me to start at night on this day, you're counting days. I'm counting hours, right? And he said, he thought about it. We did the math. And he said, you're right. You need to come in the day after that. And he says, I guess I better tell all my other patients that I got the date wrong for the cycle. Had I not known that information, I might not have baby G today. I might not have baby G today, because he would have transferred my embryo a day early. Plus or minus 4 hours. Okay. Yeah, because sometimes it's like plus or minus 4 or plus or minus 6. Maybe they're just saying 4 to be safe. But yeah, so it's just, you know, it's important to know why, what and why, because these doctors are not perfect. You know, he made a mathematical error, right, as far as telling me when to come in to do my transfer. You know, maybe, you know, the date was fine, but he would have had me start my meds too late to really be ready for a transfer on that date. So even if the date didn't change, I needed to start earlier, right? And so I'm always checking the math because I know 120 hours. Everybody doesn't know 120 hours. If you're watching this video now, you know the standard is 120 hours of progesterone, give or take a few hours, right? Somewhere between 4 and 6 to get your transfer, you know. And that's the standard. Now, if you have findings on the ERA, then that's when things start to shift, right? But the standard, the textbook standard is 120 hours, plus or minus. So if you didn't know, now you know. That's what I like to say on my work meetings when we hand out new information. If you didn't know, now you know. 120 hours. Hopefully this will help somebody out there. You know what I mean? Somebody, you know, it sucks to have to be in control of your own cycle and to just, but we pay too much money, we put too much effort, too much literal blood, sweat, and tears into trying to make these babies. Too much money, you know, too much mental anguish if you're on a weight loss journey and all of this for somebody to make a mathematical error and screw your situation up. You know, nothing wrong with having checks and balances. That's what I call. Doctor says this, I'm checking the math. You know, that's it. But if you don't know, how can you? You know, so many, and this is what scares me the most is that so many women are out here trusting the instruction of the doctor, not understanding the importance of why they're asking them to do what they're doing, when they're asking them to do what they're doing, how they're asking them to do what they're doing. So many women are out here doing this completely blind, using blind trust of the doctor. And it's a dangerous thing. Not saying you can't, right? But it's a dangerous thing because doctors are imperfect people. They make mistakes too, you know? And what do you do? What do you do? All right, ladies, I didn't expect to be out here for 3 hours. Sitting in my car, running the gas. 2:45. I want to go play some Beat Saber now. It's my day off. I want to get a half hour or so into some Beat Saber. Plus, I still gotta go pee, y'all. I had to go pee when I started this, and it's lunchtime now. Well, I guess it was close to lunchtime when I came. But it's always fun talking to y'all. Always fun talking to y'all. I'm glad I got to do this at a different time of day, and I don't know if some of my ladies overseas it's a little bit earlier in the day for them, but maybe they're still working. Actually, should be done work by now. Probably on their way home. Those in the UK, they're about 5 hours ahead. So it's like what, 5.5 hours, depending on the time, the daylight savings and stuff. But yeah, this is always fun. I always love talking to you guys. I really do. Can't you tell? Because I said I was getting off an hour ago. Yes, Phoebe. Yes. Well, I couldn't do it without you all, right? Otherwise, it's like, all right, I'm done saying what I'm saying. You don't got nothing else to say. I'm getting off. But these long lives are definitely because you gals have all the great questions that I'm happy to answer if I have an answer for them. You know what I mean? But I'm just out here hoping that I'm helping somebody, you know. And you know, when I started this whole YouTube journey, it was just really like a video journal for myself to just kind of chronicle my journey. But you know, if it helps one person, I'll take all the negativity that comes with having a YouTube channel if I can help just one person and clearly, you know. Marquita, I managed to help you, so I'm doing my job here, right? I'm doing my job. I listen, I receive free, I give free. And feel free to challenge anything that I say, because again, I am not a medical professional. I'm happy to do some research if anybody thinks I said something wrong or what have you. But I mean, again, this is disclaimer. I'm not a medical professional, right? I can only give you my experience, what I have read, but I'm happy to give you, to cite my sources, right? For you to read everything for yourself, for you to do everything for yourself. And by all means, take whatever information you think sounds good for me to your doctor and have a discussion about whether it's something that could work for you. Maybe your doctor has other suggestions, right? In addition to what I have to say, right? I have studied other people's cycles, Arlette's included, right? Arlette, Boston Girl, a whole bunch of people, who came before me. I've watched their cycles. I've watched them find success. It's helped me find success. You know what I'm saying? And, you all are out here watching for a reason, not just because you find me entertaining. You know? I'm so glad I caught some of this. Love your videos. Oh, thank you. Knowledge has been so helpful. Thank you. I want us all to just be able to, confidently walk into these offices and not run the show, but, be knowledgeable and feel confident that what you're doing, what your doctor is suggesting, that you feel comfortable with it. And it's not just something you're blindly following, right? Oh, thanks, Arlette. Thumbs up the video. I don't know. I'm not on here. I'm on here on my phone. So I can't really see what's what. But, if you haven't smashed that like button, smash the like button. If you like what you see, if this is your first time over here, or maybe not your first time, and you just like being a voyeur of sorts, go ahead and hit subscribe. I don't even post that much. So I'm not going to bother you, except when I start posting all those older videos. You might get bombed a little bit then. So go ahead and subscribe. I don't bite, I promise. I'm happy to see you guys over here, but smash the like button, especially if you found the information helpful. I mean, I'm giving my journey, but whatever I can do to help somebody else be successful, because this is not easy and it ain't cheap. I am blessed. I am extremely blessed. Please do not, under any circumstances, think that I do not believe that I'm extremely blessed to be able to have insurance to help me with this process. Because in reality, I might not have my baby if I did not have insurance, because of what it has taken for me to get this far. I might not have my baby, so, and I'm incredibly grateful for the position that I am in regards to my insurance, and I am also very aware that not everybody has that privilege. You know what I mean? So, all right, I think I've talked enough. Any last parting questions? I don't even know if I should say another 8 minutes. We'll be on here another hour, but I really do I need a bio break. I'm gonna be running in here as soon as I get up. Last call, as they say. Going once, going twice. All right. Well, I guess that is it. Thank you, everybody, for joining the live again. I thought this was gonna be a quick one. I always think they're a quick one. What am I doing for the holidays? Couldn't type quick enough, huh, JP? I'm not doing anything. Actually, I'll be working December 30th. I agreed to do that with my manager just yesterday. But I'm not going anywhere. I'm not doing anything. I'm not cooking any big meals. I do have a sweet potato pie that's in my freezer from Thanksgiving. I'll be throwing that out for Christmas. Not that I should be eating sweet potato pie. But yeah, so I understand this, JB, because this is what my text messages look like these days. So I read that real easy. I'm not making fun of you. I relate. I relate, especially with my numb fingers. All my text messages look like that these days. But yeah, so we're not doing anything. I have the last 2 weeks of the year off. My last day of work will be December 15th. So I have December 16th off until next year. So, well, with the exception of the work that I'll be doing over the holiday that I agreed to. So, yeah. So thanks, JB. You have a great weekend as well. So, it is what it is. Like I said, I am still filming through this process, so there might be some details that are in some of those other videos. If you care to watch them, I'm just trying to keep you guys up to date in as much real time as I possibly can, considering that, I'm so behind in all my other videos, and I think chronological order is very important to me on my channel. But I wanted to come in here and do these lives because I'm in mid-cycle now, and I know it's important to a lot of you ladies who are out here and going through cycles right now. So I don't want you to wait another year or 2 years to get this information. Right. What does that look like? I pop up here pregnant all of a sudden doing bump dates or something like that. And it's like, what happened? When did you have a cycle? What happened? So I don't know. But it'll be interesting. I will do another live like I did before. Hopefully I will get all the same pictures that I got before of my embryos. I know a lot of the ladies, you guys enjoyed the last live I did where I showed the pictures of my embryos. I've been showing them on Instagram as well. So sometimes the pictures make it a little easier to understand sometimes. I mean, I'm not the trained eye, again, not a medical professional. I do the best I can. But yeah, so I'm happy to do that again with this cycle as we go through the egg retrieval process and the embryo growth, because I don't see a lot of that out here on YouTube, and I think that's important to see and to understand as well. So, all right, I really gotta go, man. I'm gonna pee my pants if I don't go now. Everybody, please have a great weekend. Be out here, be safe, treat yourself well, do something great for yourself this holiday. I know we do a lot for other people, but don't forget to do something for yourself. That is definitely something that I did today when I went to Acu into Cairo, was to actually spend some time with myself, for myself, and taking care of me. So be out here taking care of yourself as well. I'm going to sign off, even though we're not exactly at 3 hours, but that's okay because I got to go to the bathroom. So sticky baby, that's to all those out here. Still TTC. And if you're pregnant, congratulations. If you're, I got a text the other day. Somebody's going to be giving birth this week. Next week, this week. Today's Friday. Oh my God. I swear I just haven't. I'm sorry. Please blame my head and not my heart. I'm caring. I'm thinking and I'm praying for everybody out here. Do believe. I'm going through a lot. You know, on my own, but I am still thinking and caring for everybody out there. I apologize if I am not being as responsive, or maybe just not coming up here in enough real time to keep you guys posted. I know this IVF number 4 cycle kind of sneaked up on everybody. I did say I would do another one in December. I didn't know exactly when it would start. It snuck up on me too. So I'm just glad that I could get in here and at least get one little live. But I probably won't do another live until after retrieval, and maybe a little bit through retrieval till we get some results. That'll probably be the next time I do another live, just given all that's going on. Pardon me, here, and that will probably be closer to Christmas, or maybe that's what we'll discuss on the New Year's live. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, because I do still plan to do the New Year's live. Usually that's just a lot of fun and just some general talk, not necessarily what's going on, but I will be like towards the end of that, so I don't know. We'll see how it works out. At any rate, enjoy the day, ladies. Enjoy the weekend, and yeah, go out there and do something for yourself. All right. All right. Bye.